Welcome, everyone. I want to thank you for attending the Town of North Topsail Beach Board of Aldermen meeting. Today is Wednesday, December 6th. I'm going to ask everybody if they could put their phones on silent for the meeting. I would appreciate that. And we're going to call the meeting to order. Mayor Pro Tem Benson is going to give us the invocation this morning.
Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Bless this town and may it remain a beautiful and friendly place to live. We pray that this board makes fair and informed decisions this morning. We also pray that our police officers, firefighters, and members of our armed forces here and around the world remain safe as they risk so much for our security. We also pray that our town be spared the ravages of hurricanes and other natural disasters, that everyone associated with the town remains safe. We also pray for a peaceful resolution to the conflict in the Middle East, and that the Palestinians and the Jewish people in the state of Israel can somehow learn to live peacefully as brothers and sisters. In this we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. So I'm going to request a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to add under continuing business as the first item, the BISAC update by Chairman Struther. We had our meeting yesterday and didn't really have time to prepare a written report, but he can give an oral report as we made a lot of progress in our beach management plan.
So we have a motion, a second, and a request to change the agenda. So do we have a motion and a second on the requested change?
I would move to accept that change.
Do we have a second on that?
I made the motion. Sir.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then we're going to move right into the manager's report. Ms. Darian.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. The first item that I have to report on is an update just on the holiday season in general. The Christmas tree recycling program. The town will once again be holding a recycling program where residents can drop off their undecorated Christmas trees to the Jeffries parking lot starting on December 26th after Christmas. There will be a marked, cordoned off area to drop off your Christmas trees. The trees will be grounded for mulch that will be available on a first come, first served basis and will be free of charge. And it will be, we expect to have it ground up in mid-January timeframe, but we will make the announcements as we get closer and as we set the final date for grinding. Snowflakes were installed and lit for the November 15th tree lighting. Public Works staff installed wreaths and lighting to the town entrance sign, so we're fully decorated for the holiday season. Our second annual Christmas tree lighting was held on the 15th here at Town Hall. Thank you to staff and everyone who contributed and volunteered and helped make the event successful. We had over 200 attendees at this year's event, which was double the attendance from last year's event. The next item that I have, and Ricky, if you could pull up the slides for fire station number 2. Work continues on the fire station project, the financing and construction aspect as planned. I provided 2 slides, which is an overview today instead of me just reading everything through as a timeline. There's been a lot that's been done over the last couple months and continues to go on for this project. So I just wanted to give you all a visual So you can see where we've been, where we started on October 18th. It started with initially the IFB being issued on the 18th and follows through the timeline. And I'll just skip through, and you can see some of the dates on there, like on November 22nd, where it's in bold. These are items, the items in bold are items that I inserted into the timeline and adjusted it, just for transparency and to be clear on additional steps that were added in there and taken since our last board meeting. So you've been provided this original timeline, but the items in bold are what's been just updated just for clear transparency. So we did have the bid opening, which was on November 21st, at 2 p.m. here at Town Hall. We received 6 bids. Bids range from $6,102,689, which was the low bid, to $6,456,000. So all bids were very close in comparison, which is a good sign that we had a good, solid invitation for bid, that there were no gaps or, no holes in the process. So I was very pleased with those amounts, and as you know, we estimated between $6 and $8 million. So we're a little bit on the low end, which is good. I was pleased to report that. And in your resolutions that you have approved for financing, you gave broad authorization at the last meeting up to $8 million, and that was, again, prior to the bids coming in, and so that we would not have to go back to the LGC, because our LGC application was due, which was yesterday, and has been submitted. So you approved broad authorization for up to $8 million. You can see bids came in low bid, and we have on the agenda for approval as a separate line item under continuing business to approve the contract to move forward with the low bidder, which has been reviewed and is being recommended by the architect. So that just gives you an idea of where we've been, where we are, where we're going. That concludes to January 15th to the 17th is when we estimate the anticipated closing after the LGC meeting, the Local Government Commission meeting. So next slide. Okay. So those are just, again, the timeline updates. We put together a sample amortization schedule just for you to see. Again, if you look at the timeline, we went out for RFPs for financing, which was done. We will get those bids in, which are due on the 13th. So that will be when we will lock in the term rate and then also what the interest rates will be. So that RFP is out for bid right now. But you can see we made assumptions that with the low bid, with the par amount $5.6 million, and we included a 7% contingency, which is customary. So, so you'll see with a assumed 5%, because I wanted to provide you some context of what the rates are, what we expect to come in. We're expecting around 5%. So that shows you what the amount will be at 5%, the par with the interest rate at 5%, $7.8 million. And then, of course, what those yearly payments will be. The good thing on our timing right now is that we will not have the first payment due until July 15th, which is our next fiscal year. So that gives us opportunity to build money within the fund up until that point, which is allowing us to, when we looked at this and looking at determining what amount to borrow, because the town has been prudent with putting money away into the capital improvement fund, we have money saved, and we continue to save and allocate for the station, which is, going to, we're able to put, estimating $1 million of available funds to this project that we will not have to borrow. So if you look at what the costs will be per year and what we bring in on an annual basis, which is for the fire department in the capital improvement fund, which is just shy of $1 million, looking at that number, you can see that the way the numbers fall, there would not be any need for a tax increase. So it shows that we could easily make these payments the way they're outlined. We'll be approving at the January meeting, we'll have the bank rates in, and that's when we'll do another resolution to finalize everything. But I wanted to give you everything, an overview right now, high level, of what the assumptions are and where we're at with where the bids came in at.
And I just want to
Just
stop
in
on
advance.
this note, just to thank you for all the work that you guys have put into this. And it does match up with what you have been communicating to us over the months, so we appreciate that. And certainly, I know that if there's any grants or applications or anything like that, we'll continue to look for that. But from a budget perspective, I 100% agree, we have got to plan on being able to pay for it and
Yes.
finance it. Yeah, so
Yes.
thank you so much.
And just to add too, that this is, you know, with the assumption of no grants, which
Exactly.
we fully intend to apply for any and all grants that are available for building of a fire station.
Yep, thank you.
Just a couple of quick questions, if I can. I like that, because that also doesn't include the fire tax in the county. Just real quick, is there, and I'm just asking, one is, I'm looking at the project amount, that means we're putting down about $1 million of our own money.
Yes, correct.
Right. Second thing is, different than a mortgage, we're showing declining payments. Is that what Doug recommended?
Yes.
Because on an NPV basis, you're better off going the other way.
Yeah, no, this is what the Carters have recommended.
Okay, and is that?
And this is
that's
a,
kinda you understand what I'm saying? If I'm looking at my mortgage, I wanna pay $1,000 a month forever, because on an NPV basis, you're better off loading out the other years, but
Right.
it does increase your interest. So
Right.
we're going heavy on the principal, is what you're telling me.
Correct.
So we can eat into the principal fast.
yes. And the rate will be a fixed rate too, just want to make note of that. It will be fixed and will be callable at any time, so if the town is in a better position and we're able to pay it early, there's no penalties on that. So it was structured in that frame.
Okay, and then the 16 years is what he recommends?
Fif-
It's
yes.
actually a 15-year.
Well, we're gonna be looking at, I gave you a 15-year scenario, but, once the rates come in, we'll relook at that and see if it makes sense between 15 or 20 year.
Okay, perfect, thanks. Nice job.
Any other questions on the fire station before okay. Okay, last but not least, the beach projects. The Phase 1 project resumed this week and is expected to be completed within 2 to 4 weeks, depending on weather and surf conditions. The contractor is accessing the beach at beach access number 41, which is Jenkins Way, address 1294 New River Inlet Road. Sand is being placed on the active beach. It's not a dune project, so it's being placed on the active part of the beach, just south of Topsail Reef, where we left off last season, and continuing south towards Ocean Edge Restaurant at the St. Regis. The Phase 5 project resumed November 16th. Work will continue through February and will officially finally be completed. Contractors accessing the beach at Gray Street once again, continuing to place sand at the Surf City line and continuing approximately 3,200 feet north of the town line. To close the last season, we placed 410,095 cubic yards of sand, and we expect to place an additional 225,095 cubic yards of sand by the end of February. The contractor has placed 6,165 cubic yards of sand since resuming operations recently. Once the Phase 5 project is wrapped up and completed in February, that is when we'll be initiating the Phase 4 project, which will build right off of the Phase 5 project. That concludes my report.
Any questions from the board? No? Okay, then what we're gonna do is, move on to the open forum. Clerk, do we have anybody signed up?
Jeff Meyer.
Jeff Meyer, 2224 New River Inlet Road, Unit 138. First, I want to wish you all a good holiday season, and I want to take this time to thank Alice and her staff for just a wonderful, wonderful Christmas event. I have a question today. I'm going to direct it toward Tom Leonard only because of his involvement with the Cobra issue. During the election, time and time again, I read on the illustrious Facebook pages how we only worked to get 2 areas of our town out of Cobra into federal. And of course, it was insinuated it was because of elected officials and so forth. Can somebody, Tom, maybe you or somebody else, tell me why those 2 areas that were in contention were taken out of Cobra and put into federal?
Okay, if you're talking about the area up near Topsail Reef and the other area, there are 2 issues with Cobra. One is the L06 and removing most of L06 out of Cobra, which is what we went to Washington for. And there's only 10% of the area, the overall area of L06 that's being removed because the remaining 90% is all conservation land. So it's effectively the area that is either has been developed or is able to be developed. There's another part to Cobra, it's what I think you're alluding to, is when the maps were changed from paper to digital years ago, there were some changes that didn't flow through, and there were some mistakes made that had to be corrected, and those are technical corrections. And that's the part of it I think that you're alluding to. It's stuff that was really already out of Cobra, but when the maps got digitized, it fell into Cobra mistakenly on paper, but it wasn't really in Cobra. So they had to go back. And those are easy changes to make because Fish and Wildlife will make those with direction from Congress without having to go through everything we've gone through for the remainder of L06. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much, and all have a great holiday season.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, we're going to just move on.
So moved.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor or discussion? All in favor? Okay, we are going to move on to public presentations and hearings. And the first one is a public hearing regarding the consideration of entering into an installment financing contract in the amount not to exceed $8 million to finance demolition of the existing fire station number 2 located at 3304 Gray Street and to construct a new fire station on the same property and pay the costs associated with entering in the contract. So I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are you speaking?
If there's anyone at this point in time that would like to come forward and make any comments or questions on the fire station, that's welcomed at this time.
Okay, then I'm going to request a motion to enter into the installment financing contract in the amount not to exceed $8 million to finance demolition of the existing fire station number 2 located at 3304 Gray Street and to construct a new fire station on the same property and pay the costs associated with entering into that contract.
Close the public hearing? Do we need to
Do we-
close the
Yeah,
public?
I do, yeah. Now I have to say all that again.
No, I make the motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now can I have a motion?
So moved.
Based on your previous description of the motion.
Thank you, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, go ahead.
Second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, the next one is regarding the easement for the Onwassa booster pump. We've got Frankie Howard here, the CEO from Onwassa, along with some other folks. And I want to request a motion to open, this isn't a hearing, this is just a presentation, right? So, okay, Frankie, I'm gonna turn it over, you're just wanting, you've been here before to talk about this quite a
Oh,
few
yeah,
times?
Quite a few times, quite a few times. A long time awaiting for this moment. So I do, thank you for having me here. I do have my chairman, Commissioner
Yep.
Royce Bennett, along with me, so thank him for joining, and of course, my COO, David Moore, who I'm going to direct any hard questions to related to this project. So, and yes, thank you for allowing us to be here. It has been a long time awaiting. We do have, I think, before you, a map showing the requested easements. We have been working with the town to get those in alignment with your policies and procedures so that we can proceed with the project. We did bid this out a month ago, I think, and we received 2 successful bids, and we had that approved at the last ONWASA board meeting, and at this point, it's awaiting easements and approval from the town.
So I do have a question. So Frankie, once these are approved, how long will it take for construction? Like, what is the estimated timeline to get the booster pump in?
Yeah, that's why David's here. And then
That's why David's here.
Rick did ask these questions at the board meeting that ONWASA had.
They want you on the microphone.
As Mr. Howard said, we opened bids the first part of November. The construction contract is just awaiting approval of the property to proceed. We'll immediately schedule pre-construction meeting and hope to begin work right after the turn of the year. The contract has substantial completion in 180 days or 6 months. So the goal would be to have the facility complete and operational by the July 4th holiday.
I add a couple things here. Just so everybody, in representing the town on the board, we've had a discussion about this, and as you guys know, my comment was, getting this done in June means it's right before the 4th of July.
Right.
So from talking to Frankie, and I think I would like you to make a comment on this, is you're also assuming that it's not going to be done by then, so you're going to put things in place to make sure that there is sufficient water during that time. In other words, the assumption of ONWASA is not, hey, if it's in there, everything's going to be great. It's, we're going to assume, we're going to put protections in to make sure that there's water supply there to the best that we can, similar to what you did with the switching of the meters down in Surf City. Is that fair?
Yes, that's correct. We'll have a different operational scheme this summer, or something we tried last summer after the 4th. It seemed to work very well. I also didn't mention it at the ONWASA meeting, but 1,000 customers on the Surf City end now are getting their water from Surf City through a purchase agreement. So we've taken 1,000 customers on the island and given them a different source of water.
So they weren't ever moved back, they just stayed where they
No,
were?
that is right now is set up and is a permanent. We have an agreement, actually executed an agreement a couple of years ago with Surf City for this purpose, so.
And all those things that are being built on 210, you're going to make sure nothing comes operational before July 4th, right?
Well, I do, but.
Sorry, that's a running
Can't go
joke.
on- can't go on
Everybody here
record
knows
for
what's
that,
going on
sorry.
at 210, and there's going to be a lot of water drank between.
But I do have.
I agree.
I do have a question and a concern about that. So we've been planning the booster pump for quite a while
Right.
now. You guys have been working on this project for us. That was before all that construction on 210. So what are your thoughts about how that construction is going to impact us? Additionally, if you remove those 1,000 homes and they're now on Surf City's water, and we have the booster pump, when all these apartments and things come live, are we?
It will, yeah, the development that's going on the mainland will pose a challenge over time, especially if it keeps going the way it's going. We are in the process right now of bringing an engineering consultant on board.
Okay.
We have a water model for our system. It's a little bit out of date, so we're bringing somebody in and hope to have them started in January as well to update the model and then look at this whole entire region and how ONWASA best serves it. As a companion project, we're also in the initial phases of looking at expanding the capacity of the Dixon water plant,
Okay.
which serves this area from 4 to 6 million gallons a day. So adding additional 2 million gallons of supply. Be honest with you, it concerns me in a lot of areas, not just down here.
Okay.
Stuff's getting built
So
everywhere.
it's something that you're continuing to consider and
Yes.
keep in your long-term planning as far as monitoring and improvements?
That is correct.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have a question on just some of the finite details. Have you talked with town manager on conditions that are going to be needed in the actual construction of the pipeline over to the booster station? For instance, the need to keep the road open at all times for access to this building, for vehicle access, plus emergency vehicle access. You've talked about that. Are you going to drill that line, or is it going to be excavated?
We originally, when I first brought the project to you a while back, we had talked about drilling the line, and it would actually run on this side of the entrance road and go under the entrance. We've talked about that internally, talked with the engineer, and we're actually going to install the line on the far side of the road now. We've pushed it across the road. We will be doing open cut, but we'll be off the edge of the road there, so we're very sensitive to the access. I've also had a couple meetings with the chief of police about the area behind where the booster pump station is. It's been cleared out, and my understanding is there's going to be a building there in the future. So we're making sure that everything we're doing on the site doesn't affect access to that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions?
I just have a clarification question. Has the contractor looked at the temporary construction easement? Are they fine with that?
Yes.
That's sufficient?
Yeah, and we'll go over it again at the pre-construction meeting to make sure they understand the limits of it. And
Okay. And I've got the plat showing the hatch mark, permanent easement, and the construction easement. It doesn't look like it's, sorry, doesn't look like it's been, the certificate for recording, is that going to be executed? Because generally what we'll do is you record the plat, and then you have an easement document, or in this case it'll be two.
Right.
And those refer back to the recorded plat that shows the hashed easement. Is that the plan here?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, just to clarify too, with the motion that you're going to make, we need to make sure that's in place before it's fully executed.
Yeah, they'll send that over. The motion today, I would request, would be a motion authorizing the mayor to execute a permanent water line and access easement and a proposed temporary construction easement as depicted on the plat dated 11/30/2023, signed by Mr. Durward Leggett. I believe it. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly.
I'm trying to get to the bottom here. Okay, so I believe the motion I'm asking for is to request a motion to approve the easement and the temporary construction easement for the Onwassa booster pump as presented on the plat.
As amended.
Brian, can you read what you want the easement, the exact language to be?
Well, it would be a motion to authorize the mayor to execute an easement, a permanent water line and access easement, as well as a temporary construction easement in favor of Onwassa as depicted on the sealed survey of Mr. Durward Leggett, Leggett, Madam Clerk, first name Durward, signed on November 30th, 2023.
And you want it recorded as well?
That'll happen after, when you execute the easement, that's part of the recording process.
Okay,
It's subsumed in granting an easement that you record it.
okay. Madam Clerk, do you have that language? You good? Do we have a motion with the language that Brian just suggested?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I do have a question. I see that there are 7 one-story metal storage buildings. I'm assuming they're temporary during construction. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I think they were identifying some that were already existing. I noticed that too.
Existing storage buildings
Okay.
out there that
Right,
the police department, I guess, is using or somebody's using.
right.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. I noticed the same thing, so.
So we have a motion and a second. Any additional comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Well, it was not a public hearing, it was a presentation, sir.
I'll just point out, I'm here until the end of the meeting, so I don't mind talking.
And we do have there is another opportunity for an open forum coming up again, so you'd be able to speak during that open forum if you'd like.
He's gonna stay here.
I will be here. Me and Chairman will be here. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And speaking of the chairman, he does have wants to take a moment to make a comment.
Mayor, Aldermen, I appreciate you giving me just a moment of your time. I just wanted to present the mayor with a token of our appreciation from Onwassa for your service. The mayor served on Onwassa board from May of 2020 to September of 23. Helped us get through COVID. It was a challenging time for all of us, and I had to write down all the things that she's been involved with in the last 3 years. She helped us with a 10-year capital improvement plan, the purchase of the Plurus assets in this area of the county, to negotiate the purchase agreement with Surf City that's benefited North Topsail Beach, the project ordinance for the pump station that we just talked about today. The mayor has been instrumental in hiring our new CEO, Frankie, updating our five-year strategic plan, constructing a new laboratory that was desperately needed for Onwassa, a timber management plan of our land on the Wachovia tract that we call it. This is going to bring additional revenue in Onwassa that saves our ratepayers money. And the option for the land to sell land to Jacksonville-Alonzo Economic Development Partnership down in Camp Davis Industrial Park. That's going to be a benefit for all of our ratepayers and for all of Onzo County. So I did have a quick presentation, if I could present this to the mayor. And we thank you for your service on WASA's board.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we are going to move on to the next item, which is the presentation of the 2022-2023 audit. And we have Austin Eubanks from Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, sir?
Doing good. My name's Austin Eubanks. I'm the audit manager at Thompson, Price, Scott, Adams, our Wilmington office, and we did have the pleasure of auditing North Topsail Beach as of year-end, June 30th, 2023. So looking at page 2, just some required communications. I have to tell you each year. Our responsibilities fell under the generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, OMB uniform guidance, and the state single audit implementation act. We were able to design the audit and provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material error and in compliance with government regulations. We were also able to perform all our planned procedures and have complete access to both management and required information. The only significant deficiency we had this year in internal control was a non-compliance with the budget. And I'll go over that at the end of the presentation. Moving on to page 3. The only adoption or change in accounting principles this year was the GASB 96 rule, which is the IT subscription, and that did not have a material effect on the North Topsail Beach. Management's judgment and accounting estimates are reasonable. The financial statements disclosures were deemed neutral, consistent, and clear as they should have been, and no significant audit adjustments or unrecorded differences. Moving on to page 4. We did not have any disagreements with management. No outside consultation was used, and no prior retention issues. On page 5, we did not have any difficulties performing the audit. No irregularities or illegal acts were found, and no other findings was found either. Moving on to page 6 for the actual numbers for the general fund. Total revenues and other financing sources. You received $8,592,000 for the general fund. Total expenditures was $5,978,000, giving you a net change to a positive $2,613,972. One of the requirements that LGC look at every single year is a minimum undesignated fund balance that needs to be at minimum 34% of your expenditures. And at the minimum fund balance would have been $2,032,000. However, your unassigned fund balance is $6,972,000, and that puts you at right at 117% instead of that minimum threshold of 34%.
Before you leave, Zach, can I just ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
When you're assigning the minimum, you're using that for the general fund. Is that by fund?
No,
You
it's
have to
only
have
for,
that-
they only want to see the general fund. The tax collection rate is an outstanding 99.21%.
You guys are slipping there. Alice, what happened to 100?
Never seen 100 before, by the way. Moving on to page 7. This is a 4-year comparison. Obviously, your operating revenues increased this year, mainly due to the ad valorem increase. Looking on page 8. So the ad valorem made up 49% of your total revenues at $4,211,000. This did increase in the general fund alone by $1,426,000. Even though you had a rate drop from 0.46 to 0.43, the dollar assessment of the homes increased drastically this year. Overall, the funds, your ad valorem tax increased by $2,320,000. Your unrestricted intergovernmental, which made up mainly your sales and use tax, was 34% at $2,916,000. Your sales and services, $801,000, made up 9%, and all other revenues, which included your restricted intergovernmental, which is your grants at $44,000, and interest income of $421,000. That made up 8%. Moving on to the total expenditures, general government made up 37% at $2.2 million. Your public safety was the largest overall expenditure, 51%, and you spent $3,042,000. Your sanitation department, $489,000, made up 8% of the expenditures. All other expenditures combined was 4%, and this is street department, community development, and your debt service. So getting into the fund balance again, your total fund balance for the general fund only was $7,747,000. $6.9 million of this is available to spend at your discretion. $774,000 of this is restricted, and that's state stabilization of $722,000, and your POW bill cash on hand was $52,000. On page 11. Again, going to that 34% minimum threshold of the unassigned fund balance. This is for the past 4 years. You see, again, want to reiterate, 34% is the minimum, and you're sitting right now at 117%. So that basically means if you were not to collect any revenues, you still have up to 14 months to operate as a normal operation. And that's a significant increase from 9 months back in 2020. So getting into your other funds, your shoreline protection fund, your total revenues and other financing sources was $5,955,000. Your total expenditures and other financing sources was $5,552,000. Debt service expenditure of $2,030,000 made up was a part of this, and a transfer of $1,528,000. Giving you a net change of $402,858 to the good, bringing your net position from $11.4 million up to right at $11.8 million. Going into your beach maintenance project fund, your total revenues and other sources, $17,365,000. This is a little inflated this year because there was a debt issuance that's included in this, $6.7 million, and transfers from the other fund that I just mentioned was $1,528,000. Your total expenditures was $13,946,000. Debt service expenditure of $3.8 million is included in this figure as well. But overall, your net change was $3,419,000, bringing your net position at the end of the fiscal year to $3,596,000.
So I do have a question on this. Alice, is this the fund where the FEMA funds go into that we expend first, then we get reimbursed?
Yes.
Okay.
I was
Thank you.
going to raise the same issue, because basically what you've said so far for these funds is the additional revenue we've got has gone into basically, I'm going to call it cash, but basically expenses haven't really gone up much.
Right.
What's happened is we're in a better financial position because now we've taken money additional revenues and put it into fund balances, because your fund balances have gone up substantially.
Correct.
To go from, what was it, 60-something% to 100-something% means that right now, we are in a much better cash position than we've been ever.
Yeah.
Right, so what I'm saying is the revenues haven't gone into just expenses. They've really
Well,
gone
for
into
this-
building cash balance.
For the general fund in particular, it was mainly because of ad valorem revenue, that additional revenue. However, the beach maintenance project fund is because of those loans, and you are going to expend that money in the future.
Right, but also to Joanne's point though, and to me, it's a mismatch, because basically what you've got is FEMA money coming in and going out. So it looks like it's continuing revenue when it's not. It's very project specific.
Yes.
Right, so we don't have $13 million coming into that fund. We've got FEMA money reimbursing us for 13 that we spent.
Right.
Exactly, that's the point I was trying to make. Thank you, sir.
Because it's misleading, because you're looking at a lot of revenue coming in.
Capital Improvement Fund, your total revenues and other financing sources, $1,223,000, and this is the additional ad valorem taxes. Total expenditures, $190,000, giving you a net change of $1,032,000, bringing your net position to $1.4 million. Looking at the cash on hand for the general fund, $52,000 is restricted. Again, that's the Powell bill money. $7,378,000 is unrestricted to be spent at your discretion. Shoreline Protection Fund, $10,110,000 is unrestricted. The American Rescue Plan Fund had $200,383 left to be spent, and that is of course restricted. The Beach Maintenance Project, $3.5 million, that's all restricted. Capital Improvement Fund, $1.4 million is unrestricted.
We could just stop a minute. Does everybody on the board know what the Powell bill is? Yes.
For the
Okay.
streets, yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody knew what that was. We've talked about it a couple times now.
And also just to follow up, so that people understand, this is as of June 30th.
Yes, correct.
So what we've seen today in the presentation from the finance department is separate apart from this, because it's actually competitive than this.
So again, that internal control significant deficiency that we found this year was due to a budgetary violation. So you have 60 days of this presentation to write a letter. I think it's already been drawn up, and have reviewed it, and I think it is a good explanation of what happened. Next slide. It's a performance indicator. Basically, just one fund when you went over budget. It was approved on for the transfer of the $1.5 million. However, where it was transferred out of was not correctly budgeted. So within 60 days, that letter has to be signed by all the board members and submitted. Any questions, concerns?
Just back to that. All you're saying is that the documentation relating to the fund that it came out of was not in place. So basically, the transaction had been approved by the board?
Correct.
Right.
So
And so it's basically, and I'm not trying to, I understand the audit part of it, but basically what you're saying is the documentation that it should have come out of this fund to go to this fund, so it was a fund transfer. Like
Correct.
the cash didn't go out of the company, or out of
correct.
it was an inter-transfer of money between fund balances, and one side of it was not documented.
Correct. Yeah, and I've talked to the issue with Caitlin. And, yes, and I talked to Caitlin about the issue, and I think going forward that would not be an issue.
Does anybody on the board have any additional questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir, very much appreciate it. Okay, the next on our agenda would be Mr. Fran Way for our engineer update. Hey, Fran, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good, we're ready for you.
My name is Fran Way. I'm a coastal engineer. I've been working with the town since about 2018. We're working with CI Coastal, on the coastal engineering components of the town project. And I'll just get to the presentation, and then it was good seeing there, a lot of the board was at the North Carolina Beaches, Inlets, Waterways Conference a few weeks ago, and it was good to see everyone there. And let me share screen. So this is the December update. here's just an overview of the North Topsail Beach shoreline from phase 1 up near New River Inlet down to phase 5 near the Surf City town limit. The phases were broken up, and we won't get into those. But for phase 1, as Alice mentioned, there is sand being placed this winter, about 20,000 cubic yards, hopefully a little bit more than that, but it's good material. It should stay pretty, it's got some staying power, a little bit more than some of that stuff that gets on there with those core projects. And we'll get into that, and then the state grant project on phase 4, and then the FEMA and Dorian project on phase 5 that are ongoing as well. Here's the phase 1 truck haul that has begun. As Alice mentioned, they're starting up the process and getting it worked. Here's where the material was placed about a year ago, or a little less. The contractor was this is the Topsail Reef, the most southern building for Topsail Reef condos, building 8, and they were accessing it here, where obviously we're accessing beach access 41, and then these were a little over. There was a marine layer that morning, but that's going to continue south, and so we're starting here, just south of the, southwest of the Topsail Reef Villas, and we're just going to work our way down to about here, and that 20,000 cubic yards of material will be placed here in the next, in the next 2 to 3 weeks probably. For the phase 5 project, here's the Gray Street access is here, and then we're finishing out the southern portions of the fill template. Here are just a few images of kind of the project going on. It's going well. It always is kind of a slow start in November because of Thanksgiving, but I do think the contractor is really going to put in some get some productivity here for the first, before Christmas. And there are different volumes going around, but the most recent volume calculation from the surveyors was about 21,996 cubic yards placed. So almost 22,000 cubic yards placed in material at the phase 5 area. And then following the completion, as Alice mentioned, following the completion of the phase 5 project in February, we'll move up here to the phase 4 area. Here's Highway 210 coming right on here. We'll work with the contractor, but he's going to immediately start up on this project, and it will be a different beach access, which will be good to get off that Gray Street access. And it will be this access up here, basically where Highway 210 comes onto the island and splits. For kind of just ongoing activities, big one, about 20,000 cubic, at least 20,000 cubic yards placed for this winter. The New River Inlet Management Plan, that DIS, the last section 5 and section 6, have been submitted for review by the Army Corps of Engineers. There were, different alternatives, but it is moving forward. And then the state grant nourishment, 303,000 cubic yards in phase 4 will connect to phase 5. And the phase 5 beach nourishment is ongoing, and volumes are updating daily. And I'll continue working with North Topsail Beach, the finance officer, and DEC regarding funding and all the coordinating the expenditures and permitting coordination on all projects. Where basically we're updating the agencies weekly on project progress, and that is my presentation.
So, Fran, I do have a question, and then I'll turn it over and see if anybody else has any questions. But on the EIS, I know that those additional sections were submitted. Do you have any idea when we will actually get to see that document?
I do not. I don't.
Okay.
That's the Army Corps of Engineers. They keep it very close to the chest, and so that's a tough one. I cannot answer that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Well, just a comment there. As Fran indicated, the final chapters were submitted, so actually the Corps really just got the whole package to start with after Thanksgiving, so.
Right, but I'm trying to find out if, are we talking a year before we get to see it, 6 months, 3 months?
Yeah.
You know, so we'll have to ask on our next
We'll
call.
have to ask on our next call.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have questions for Fran?
Just
Yes,
a
sir.
couple of quick ones. One, just to make a comment, you were talking about the financing of this thing. Because of the current financial situation of the town, from talking to our town manager, we're not gonna have to finance the rest of this. We have the cash available, which means we're gonna be avoiding hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest expense. The second thing, just just a quick follow-up, we're gonna finish up 5, all right, and then we'll get part of 4 done before next fall. Next fall being hurricane season. In terms of it being the protection of the beach itself, not the dunes, I'm assuming that then, I'm using the wrong term, the static line for FEMA will be the sand that we've put into 5 and the sand that we've put into 4, and that's what they would put back, okay, assuming that that's what the survey shows. Is that fair? Because that's what happened. The reason we got so much more sand in 5 is because it was an engineered beach, and because both of those projects are beach projects, not just dune projects. But just, you understand the
Well,
question I'm asking is,
yeah,
if
but-
we're building in the protection, it's not,
I think that we're gonna have to follow up on that, because I think that we've added so much sand in the Phase 5 area, and the vegetation has really taken off down there, and there is some question as to whether that static line should be moved more oceanward.
right, and I'm using the wrong term in the static line. What I'm talking about is they do an annual survey that shows where the sand is and how high the sand is, right?
Oh,
And
you're
that's
just
what
talking
FEMA
about the beach
FEMA
profile.
Right, the beach,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. I used the wrong term.
That's okay.
But that was my, because if we're putting it in there, we don't want it to be, all of 4 has to get done. It should be, the survey will be, whatever survey we do as the level of sand is gonna include all the work we've done, right?
So Fran, what Mr. Grant is referring to is that annual beach profile where you guys kind of take a look at it, so we're prepared when the storm season comes up to know what we had
That's the
and
point.
what was
That's the
damaged.
point, yeah.
Yes, it's basically what is, placed and what if we will submit, FEMA requires, the before project placement of the sand, and then they request the after project placement of the sand, and we're getting those pretty much weekly. So it will all be up to date, and we can send that all into FEMA. We'll get credit for all the volume we have placed if
Yeah.
something did occur.
That's exactly what I was asking.
This hurricane season.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Are there any additional questions from the board for Mr. Way?
Got one. Is that just for Phase 5, Fran, or is that for Phase 4 and 5?
Phase 4 is going to be more difficult. As you know, Alderman Leonard, the Cobra Zone, FEMA will, submit this stuff has to go through the Fish and Wildlife Service, and, sometimes, in the Cobra Zone areas, there's just more hurdles. So, the Phase 4, we're going to, it's difficult to say, but, the FEMA reviewer, the coastal reviewer, has been very good with the town and with me, in terms of trying, getting that Category B funding for, the phases, 2, 3, 4. And so, I do think they will give us a shot at getting this, and maybe there will be some Cat B stuff, or maybe, which is the dune, because obviously we do have, the town did place a considerable amount of dune repair, and then, obviously with the beach, the engineered beach is more difficult to claim in a Cobra Zone, but, I think we can, we're gonna try that.
Yeah, I appreciate that clarification, Fran.
Any additional questions? Fran, I just want to thank you for joining the call today. I appreciate the updates. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item, which would be, in continuing business, it would be a BISAC update from Chairman Struther.
Thank you. We appreciate you letting us sneak in here today and say a few words. We didn't know for sure how things were going to work out with all of our meetings and the lack of meetings because of Chris's health situation. But anyway, he did come, and as Mayor Pro Tem Benson said, we had a great meeting yesterday, and we feel like that we've reached a hurdle, and we've jumped over this hurdle of being able to know where we're going and what we're going to do. And I think in short order, within the next 2 months, we ought to be able to present to you a total package that'll have all the numbers and the projections and all in it. But we did have, and we are so far ahead because there's in talking about the reaches, when we're talking about the phase 1, 2, 3, 4, well, phase 5 is reaching its hurdle in 24. We're going to be done. Phase 4 should be done in 25. Phase 1, 2, and 3, we're projecting 26. So, and that's assuming that everything goes in accordance with the way that the projections are and the plans are. And those are, and we even have the numbers of what each phase is going to take. I won't go into giving you all those numbers because you'll get that whenever we give you the final. But we've got it. They've done it where we've got the breakdown of how many cubic yards it's going to take in phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the finishing of 4. We've also in phase 5. I mean, phase 5 should end up with about 512,400 cubic yards. When it's all said and done. We also talked a lot about the borough area DA 143, which I know that y'all all have information about that, and the fact that it's approximately 1.9 million cubic yards of sand there. It's going to be relatively easy to permit. It's less extensive to use than offshore borough. It's sufficient. There's a sufficient sand there to take care of phases 1, 2, and 3 plus. And we'll be able to potentially draw from it's eligible for the shallow draft fund where we can get some money from that. And the good thing about that is, as far as the study is concerned, it is included in a study that's being done by USAC on 6 DA rehabs, and it includes that one. So there'll be some good information that'll come from that we won't be having to do, that's going to be done through that program that's already going on. In 2000, and right now, if we hit the right numbers in 2026, we could be looking at a temporary terminal growing that would be going into place at the inlet, and we've got samples of that from Mason Borough and different things, and we had extensive conversation about that, and we think it's going to be easier to permit. Will surely be easier to permit than if we were trying to put in, a permanent growing. So, and that's something that's looking in the 26 time frame. The design schedule, we talked about that. The standalone permits for 1, 2, and 3 from DA 143. We should be able to get in December of 23, now 24. We're figuring sometime in the next 12 months we can get a permit to do that, assuming that it's proved to you. Long-term sand source development, January of 24 to December of 24. So we should be getting the numbers and where we can get those things. Finalization of a 30-year plan, including permit, in December of 25. So we over the next couple of years, we've got a lot of, and these are things that are now in place that we can do. I mean, this is something that the numbers have all been put together for, and TI Coastal has put that together. Initial construction schedules, we're down to having those information. In winters of FY 24 and 25, complete reaches 5 and 4. Winter of 26, completing reaches 1, 2, and 3. And maintenance on reach 1. Potential for temporary terminal structure at FY 26. initial inlet improvement maintenance 1, 2, and 3 by FY29. We're into the maintenance cycle every 4 years with small hopper maintenance annually. And that's going to be the key. The key is going to be the annual maintenance that's done. Once we can get this in place, you know, if you skip a year, you may be in trouble. So that's going to be paramount to what we do. The initial hopper maintenance FY32 cycle every 10 years. We'll be going into a 10-year cycle of making those happen. I don't expect anybody to remember all this stuff. I'm just telling you that we're so much further ahead than where we were the last meeting that I addressed you at this board. Funding opportunities. DA 143, the shallow draft fund is available with a 3-to-1 state match. The maintenance borrow from the New River Inlet Shallow Draft Inlet Fund, 3-to-1 state match. Beach Resilient Fund, AKA Reach 4, state 1-to-1 match. Directly legislated state grants, like we just got the $10.5 million that we got last year. FEMA assistance after declared disasters. I mean, that's one of the most important things that can happen when we get all these to the engineered beach, and that's something that we're all striving to do and to go forward. There's enough funding opportunities identified to carry long-term without having to get into a tax situation. So that's a good sign. Just a big number to throw out at you, and I've got a long list of all these things that you could see that's broken down to where it's been figured now to every year under different categories, grants, state, and everything else, what the project expenses will be over the next 30 years for the 30-year plan. And right now, if nothing changed, it would be $263,700,000. So that's a lot of money. But the good thing is that there's plans to do that, and unless something, you know, and all this is you know, anything can change when we have disasters. You know, you're going to throw yourself into a little bit of a tailspin. But if everything stayed like it is, and that's the amount we'll be spending, we are, based on the numbers, that unless the Board of Aldermen change the budgeting process and the expenditure process and what's going into the beach fund, if we continue at the rate we're going, and this beach fund can get to where is not paying off loans, we'll have enough money annually to be able to fund the maintenance and the things that have to go on a regular basis. And so I think that's a credit to you people that make sure that that's where we keep putting our money, because it's paramount to keeping North Topsail Beach a destination to get to. This is a number that I will say is non-construction expenses over FY 24 and 25, which is dealing with surveys and analysis and engineering design and environmental analysis, permitting grants, et cetera. We're talking about FY 24 and 25 in those 2 years, approximately $775,000 that would not be in the construction process. It'd be things that would have to be done for engineering and whatnot. This is so much. We left that meeting yesterday feeling like that we'd finally accomplished an end goal. We finally gotten to a point. There's still some work that TI Coastal has to do to get us some final numbers on some cost and their cost and various other things. But I asked a direct question and was given a direct answer that within 2 months we should have all that. So as quickly as we get that, then we'll be making appointments to have a full presentation done for you. Anybody got any questions of me on that?
Just do a follow-up comment from me yesterday. 2 things. I thought the funny comment that Chris made at the end was the total expenditures over 30 years equal the Army Corps project's first phase for the project in phase 5, which I thought was kind of funny. The second thing is, from a fiscal standpoint, I think the other alderman sitting 3 down for me and I made it clear, nothing has been approved budget-wise, but this is a forecast. The one heads up that I think that we need to understand as a board goes back to what Larry just presented is, we need to start the permitting process now. So I would expect in February, Mike, we would be coming back. The money is in the beach fund to do it, but actually saying we want to go ahead and start the permitting and spend the money on the permitting stuff to get that in place. Because the overall plan, I think Larry alluded to it, is once you get all of the engineering and permits in place, then we can be opportunistic like we were with 4 to be able to pull the trigger if money comes up. So that bam, you know, we're not waiting around for something, it's in place, and the idea is to get it all done, including the temporary structure that we were talking about in those things. So just a heads up for the board that we'll be looking, assuming that Chris comes in with similar numbers, we'll be looking in the $700,000 range to start this process this, well, it'll be next calendar year, but this fiscal year. Money's in the thing, but I think that's the one thing we will be coming back and asking for approval for. Is that fair, Larry?
Yep, that's exactly right, based on, and I think we've got the bulk of the numbers that we need to know to make a decision. I think we just need to let him finalize his numbers, and that way we have no surprises.
Okay, any additional questions?
Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay, we're going to continue down the agenda under continuing business, and we have got Alderman Leonard with an update on the Coastal Resources Barrier Act.
Cobra, good news. The 15th of November, we were advised by a representative from Congressman Murphy's office that our Cobra bill, which is House Resolution 2437, was heard by the full committee of Natural Resources, and it was passed along party lines. I think it was 21 to 15 or something like that, but it's going forward now to the full House for consideration, which is huge. It's a big step. We don't have any idea yet when or how that will take place. I'm trying to find that out at the present time. Not sure if it's going to go as a standalone or if it's going to be combined with some other similar Cobra type bills for other areas in the country, or if it's going to get hung on the back of something and silently sneak through, which I doubt that'll happen. But once we get it through the House, once it hopefully is approved, then the next fight is the Senate. And I'll be working with our congressman's folks to see how we're going to try to approach that and what our way ahead, what our strategy will be to try to get it through the Senate. And it's good news. We've never been this far. We've been working Cobra issues for over a decade in this town, and I'm real pleased with where we are.
Thank you, sir.
Subject to questions.
Any questions from the board? Okay, then Alderman Leonard, we're going to go into your next item, which is a resolution.
There are 2 resolutions in front of you today. One to thank Congressman Murphy for his assistance in this matter. The second one is to thank Congressman Rouser for his assistance because Congressman Rouser co-sponsored the bill. Frankly, we could have not done this without the attention to detail of Congressman Murphy's staff. It's one thing to introduce a bill, have a congressman introduce a bill, but that's the first step, and that's the easy part. The hard part is the follow-up, the phone calls that they make, you know, the walk in the halls up there on Capitol Hill and coordinating with Fish and Wildlife and with the staff director for Water and Wildlife and Fisheries and all that, and had people like Ray Celeste specifically not taken this thing to heart and really pushed it hard, we wouldn't be here with this thing where it is today. I don't know if you want me to read these, or do we need to read these aloud, to read them in the record or not? Because
They'll be in the record.
they're in the record, so.
Do you want a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve Resolution 2023-07, appreciation of Congressman Murphy. That's my motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then I'll make the motion that we approve Resolution 2023-08, which is appreciation to Congressman Rouser.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then the next item I'm going to turn over to Mayor Pro Tem regarding the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission's 2023 results and 24 goals.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Each year, the commission sets its goals for our state advocate in Raleigh and our federal advocate in Washington. And I hope the board has had time to look over the information that was included in the meeting packet, because it summarizes the results of our work in Raleigh and work in Washington this past year. So the goal this morning is to come up with like 2 goals from this board that you would like the Shoreline Protection Commission to work on in the coming year. We're kind of under a short timeline here, because the next meeting of the Shoreline Protection Commission is tomorrow afternoon. So that's why we had to get this item on the agenda for today. If you have looked at the state advocate goals from last year, where do we want to go at the state level? Do we want to continue to support funding for the shallow draft inlet, for the coastal storm dam mitigation fund? Those 2 funds, particularly the shallow draft fund, is under a lot of pressure from other groups to make use of those funds rather than on the basis of local governments requesting use of the funds. For last year, there was a effort by the Army Corps of Engineers to get an exemption that they could apply for shallow draft funds from the state, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So that didn't happen, but again, it's through our advocate work in Raleigh, along with the other coastal communities, to protect that shallow draft fund. And hopefully, at some point, we can get a permanent funding source for the coastal storm damage mitigation fund. There's a $20 million appropriation for the next 2 years, but that's not a continuing appropriation. So I would just open it for discussion on what we think maybe our top 2 or 3 goals would be for our town.
So Mike, I just want to kind of direct, because we do have this in the packet. So the first few pages are the 2023 goal. The first page is the 2023 goals.
Right.
The next page being this local commission goals. Is this what you're proposing for 24? I'm trying to see where.
This is all last year. Local commission goals.
So are you asking if we would like to keep these same goals in place for 24?
Basically, yes.
Okay. So then we can just take a look at the 2023 advocate goals, which was revised December 16th, and start some discussion there. Is there anything here that people disagree with?
I do.
Okay.
I just want to make a point of administrative clarification here. Are we discussing all of these as a lump sum, or are we first starting it with the state goals and then the federal goals and then the local goals? How do you want to do this, Mike?
Let's do the state goals first.
Okay, that's what I thought.
My comment is, when you look at some of the accomplishments, I think as a town, we need to be.
Can we ask, wait, I'm sorry. Can we ask Ricky, can you bring this attachment up? Do you have it to show?
I just have the regular agenda, but I can grab it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you
Thank
click
you.
on-
We'll keep talking. Go ahead.
I think we need to be, when you look at some of the stuff that's in there, I think we need to be more specific as to what we want specifically. For example, we've had a discussion about funding of a groin, which now is not allowed apparently under state law. Why would that not be one of the issues that we would throw out there to try to get that changed? Why would we not throw more issues, because I look at stuff, some of the other towns, we were very successful in getting some of the money. But I think that, the general comment is, I think we need to look out for ourselves.
It's on there, right? It's on item C.
Right. Yeah.
Under state goals, we do have funding.
And it may be possible
Ricky,
with.
It's page 85 of the agenda packet.
With
Thank you,
work,
Brian.
with work in Raleigh our advocate work in Raleigh to possibly use the shallow draft inlet fund for item C, funding for the terminal groin. So I think maybe we can be thinking about that in that light. And I agree with you. We do need things that are specific to us. Item E, the state legislature did pass a statewide law about removal of derelict vessels, and the North Carolina Coastal Federation got a grant to actually do the work. So item E, we can check off. We don't need to continue that. We have worked the past year on resiliency projects. We can continue to do that. Surf City was awarded a resiliency project. We were unfortunately, we were not.
But Mike, I'm gonna use one in there, and again, I apologize. I mean, I've looked at most of this package, all right, but there's a lot of information there, but I'm looking under it talks about, for example, Topsail wanted $8 million non-recurring for capital costs related and associated with new public service building. Why is we should have our firehouse on there as a state funding goal?
I don't think that, you're talking about the page following this. I don't
Right.
believe that was because of the Shoreline Protection Committee. The
So-
update from Connie
So
Wilson.
you're saying on the shoreline protection, we should,
I think this is a different
The
item.
update from Connie Wilson is just background information.
Yeah, that's.
That was presented to the Shoreline Protection Commission at the October
Right.
26th meeting.
I mean,
And
like I
it's
said,
summarized.
I haven't had the time to go through this because I was focused on the financial stuff. My general comment is, we should be asking for things that are specifically benefiting us in these things. And to make that our goals. And I also think that, and we've had this discussion before, going forward next year, we ought to be spending time asking, and it was started with a conversation I had with some of our county commissioners about, make sure you get your name on these things, not as a general fund that you're trying to get to. And so if we've got things that we want for us, and I'm seeing a nodding from my friend there, but that's the way to get the money, is to have your name on them, not a general fund that then you have to apply for. And I think that, I don't know if we do that here, but I think that we ought to be asking for things specific that we need.
Well, I think
Right,
there's.
and this is really two different things, ideas, and I agree with you. We need to look out for ourselves as well, but as an Allen-wide effort, how do we want to cooperate Allen-wide to achieve some goals for the benefit of Topsail Island?
And I think, Rick, your topic about the fire station is a great example. Those are conversations we're going to need to have to figure out how to best approach grants for that. And I think that is outside of Mike's discussion for the shoreline protection.
So Mike, what you're saying is you would like us to pick out two, and you suggested the the Advocate for Recurring Fund for Coastal Storm Damage Mitigation Fund, and then the other one was B, the Continue to Ensure Funding for the Shallow Draft Inlet Dredging Fund, and that's what you'd like for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think we need to,
What
we
I
need
would
to leave
also
C.
say, is there any on here that we don't really need to be concerned about any further? And I believe item E is that.
I would like to leave item C on there as well about the
Yeah,
options for.
yeah.
Roy.
I think it's fine to leave all these, but our top two, I think, should be A and B. But it's fine to leave the rest if the board is satisfied with them, except for E, because that's been achieved.
Okay,
I would say our top two are ABC.
me too. I would agree.
To grab the advertisements is, we're gonna bundle.
Okay.
I think we want to make sure that
Our top two are C and C.
And then on the federal goals,
Federal goals, yeah. Of course, I think Cobra is our number one concern here, so we need to keep that.
I would like to see D go up to about A or B, frankly. I don't think, sorry. I'd like to see D go up higher on the pecking list for us. I know these are federal
that's-
goals.
yeah. Right.
But you talk, If you're talking the town's top two, is that where we're at here?
Yes.
With the
Right.
discussion?
Yes.
I see C being A or B, or
Yeah,
I'm sorry, D.
right, D should be number one.
Yeah.
I agree.
So it sounds like A and D.
A and D, I was gonna say then A is just as important or close. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And then on the local goals, we already did A. That's
We
complete.
did- We did B as well, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
So A and B are done.
Under local goals, B was accomplished. A is ongoing, the beach clean initiative's ongoing. The derelict vessel has been answered at the state level for the two counties, so we can cross that off. We are working with environmental groups at our
Isn't F done, Mike?
at our meeting.
The Vitex?
The Vitex is not
Ongoing.
done, but the process is ongoing.
Ongoing.
Ongoing, yeah. We did, H, the Resilient Communities, Coastal Communities Program. We worked through that process. This town was part of that onwide process, so that's been completed. Well, we're gonna continue to look for funding for resiliency projects in the future, okay?
So it sounds like from what I'm hearing, it would be the ongoing education surrounding the Beach Clean initiative. And then I would also say Vitex is not complete.
Right,
And then I don't think we've had much movement in North Topsail Beach, at least regarding mats versus permanent structures over the dune system.
right. The mat thing is more of a Topsail Beach.
Well, I don't think we have a standard great solution here either, though.
Right, we don't. I
So-
mean, a beach mat at BA4 would have been an option.
So maybe it's A, F, and G, unless folks have a different opinion.
We're not against any of them, you're just saying what are our priorities?
I think those, from a North Topsail Beach perspective, those would be my priorities looking at this list.
Some of these on this list are very general.
They are.
And, you know, in the federal and state, most of them were much more specific and I would almost say performance-based. But some of these are so, you know, promote an education system, you know, stay abreast of studies on sea level rise. Okay, you know, they're really wide open, so they're kind of hard to.
You're saying subject to
They're,
interpretation?
yeah, and they're kind of hard to rack and stack because of
Right,
that, you
right.
know? They really are.
But do you,
That's a Marine Corps term.
so would you prefer that it, since it's so general, that would it just stay except for the items that are being completed?
I would say that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Is the board in
Thanks
consensus
for clearing
there?
that up.
Thank you. Trying to be clear. Okay, are you good then, Mayor Pro Tem? Okay. Then we're gonna move on to the next item, which is the crosswalks update, and we've got our Public Works Superintendent Cablé and Fire Chief Soward is hiding in the back somewhere. Hi, sir, how are you?
Yes, good morning. Madam Mayor, members of the board, this item is brought back to you. The staff report was prepared with some of the background and analysis. I'll just highlight some of the points that we need to consider as we move forward. As you know, the NCDOT was approached both by a previous request brought on through Onslow County Parks for the location as Beach Access 2, which is also known as the address is 2950 Island Drive, along with the 790 New River Inlet Road, which was brought through town staff. So those two locations were daylighted with NCDOT staff. Staff followed up with a November 14th Teams meeting where we discussed with NCDOT both transportation and maintenance staff about these two locations and how we move forward. At that time, Madam Mayor, the Mayor Pro Tem was overseeing the meeting, and we brought back to you options that could be discussed, and we're happy to discuss some of those with you. Just to highlight the 5 locations that have been previously studied and recommended by NCDOT. Those records are being they're trying to find those records and send them to staff so that we can review them as well. Any additional locations, they have identified to us the process that we need to go through. That, however, has to begin with a formal request from the town. And that's what's before you today to discuss and give staff further direction as what locations you would like to have, if there are any at this point. Staff recommends that we not identify any at this point until we receive the formal warrants and engineering studies that NCDOT is supposed to bring forward to us. Your staff is experienced in reviewing those, and we would like the opportunity to take a look at those so that we can present to you, at least from a historical standpoint and a technical standpoint, where we are with the current pedestrian crossings and those that you would want to consider. Keep in mind that at this point, NCDOT staff has been the only technical review board and authority for those crossings, and if we venture to recommend any other locations outside of NCDOT's review and authority, we should look at that from a liability standpoint, and that's where staff, I believe, could assist you as we navigate through that. I'll stop there with the staff report and just say that the recommendation then is to receive and file this update and to listen for the board's direction as to how we move forward with new locations.
So I do have some feedback because this has been one of my hot topics for a couple years, especially on a few of these locations that I see people just not stopping at. And my concern with going through NCDOT, and I understand that we need to go through a process, is that they're going to come back with potentially our population of full-time residents, where that's not typically where our issue is. It's you know, April through October, which is peak time, and the visitors to the town just don't necessarily notice that there's a pedestrian crossing there, especially at 790 New River. It's just hard to see. It's just hard to see. So I'm fine personally moving forward with getting the recommendation from the DOT, but I would like staff working on what Plan B is. Like, what would we be allowed to do or budget for, if we need to budget for it, to be able to just showcase that people need to slow down in these locations. Does the board have any other feedback?
I just have a question to follow up on yours. I thought you were asking us to send the letter to DOT, because my question was going to be, like we did with the bike lane, who's paying for this thing? How much is it? All that kind of stuff. What you're saying is you just send a general letter to them. That gets the information to us?
Yes,
All right.
that's what we would
go
recommend.
From there, and then follow up. And in the meantime, I think what the mayor's saying to you is, don't just wait for them to come back. Let's take a look and identify the areas that we think we should be looking at.
Yeah, I agree with the areas that you have up here. I'm not saying there might not be another one where it meets some of the criteria, but the areas that you have up here are definitely areas that we've personally seen issues with folks not stopping. And again, I'm hesitant to just wait for the DOT and not take some type of protective or proactive measures just to figure out what could we do. And again, I'm just looking to try and highlight these areas so people see it and slow down.
Yes, ma'am. I believe what we're trying to provide enough foundation and direction for the board to follow is we will do exactly as you request us to do. This is as far as we felt comfortable in presenting to you your option right now. So receive and file the report, give us specific direction after you formally request to NCDOT you would like to have all of these locations reviewed and to have those reports sent to us. to the town. And then, by the way, these are some specific, you may name more than one, Madam
Well,
Mayor.
just to-
It's just up to the board and
To
yourself.
go through those, so 790 is the crossing at Villa Capriani. So I think the board would agree that that is just a very difficult one, crosswalk to see. 465, I believe that's the Richard Peters Park, is that correct? And there's just so many people there accessing the beach and going over to the sound side as well. That makes sense. 272 New River Inlet, is that the Jeffries parking area?
Yes. Yes, it
Yes,
is.
okay. And again, there's a lot of people that are using that existing bike lane to be able to park and try and get there. 4021 Island Drive, I'm thinking that is St. Moritz, is that correct? Like Rogers Bay?
That's it. Yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
And then 3632 would be our park just a little bit further down.
Yes, ma'am.
So from my perspective, I think that all of those areas would be the right ones to target, but I am looking to the board for consensus.
Yeah, I would also like to add the one there, right before Topsail Dunes.
Oh, they-
Access
mhm.
to the county parking lot
Yep.
is,
There's
there's,
a
yeah, it's in a curve and there's crosswalk signs, and I noticed you put a new one in,
Yeah.
heading northbound, which is appreciated, but there's no crosswalk. And I think we need to, especially with some of those new townhouses that were built, you kind of have to cross the street at an angle to get to the public access. I think that needs to be added to your list as well. The second comment I have is DOT is very slow. If you just tell them to look at something, they'll just say, okay, we'll look at it. Well, they may be 2-3 years before they look at it. I think we need to maybe be a little stronger in asking them to give us some kind of time frame as to when they will get back to us.
Yes, sir. The indication I have from both Stoney Mathis, the district traffic engineer, and his assistant, is that this is on their front burner. And I have requested the information. I spoke to them as early as this past week on Monday, and so I'll stay on them. I believe they'll respond.
But you need a
accordingly.
letter from us before you can get the information, correct?
Yes, sir. It has
So
to be
that's
from the
what we
highest
have to get.
level.
We've got to sign the letter to get the
Do I have
we
that
feel
in my
comfortable.
packet to sign?
Yeah.
Then okay, all right. Okay, and again, all I'm saying is if they come back and say they can't help us, we need to have a plan B.
So we need to adopt a motion.
So, yep, so I'm going to request a motion to formally make a crosswalk, to make a request to NCDOT to review all locations and provide approval denial of the crosswalk based on engineering evaluation and proposed locations.
With the addition of the one that you added.
The Topsail Dunes, right before Topsail Dunes, yes.
I don't think they're considering that that's not a crosswalk.
That's
They
correct.
don't have
W-
information.
w-
It's fine to ask for it, but that's not
Well,
officially a crosswalk.
But I think that's the question is, with the
should
traffic
be.
there, it should be a crosswalk. That's our point.
Again, I don't mean to speak for you. What he's saying is, they have already got information on those.
That's
They
correct.
need to give that to us. If we're asking for information on the other one, they have not done a study on it. So we're asking them to perform a study. Those are two different things. I think what
different
he's saying,
motions.
give me all the information, we can then go back with a list of other things we want them to
Okay.
look at, right? But they don't have a study done on that one because it's not officially a crosswalk.
So what
'Cause I
you're
think we're gonna
suggesting is
identify more.
to start, to keep the motion as it is right now, get the information back, and then if there's additional areas, request.
Bingo.
I think, if I may interject, that would provide an option. The board may have another location. You don't tie yourself down then. That would be
Okay.
our
So
perspective.
then I believe what we're doing is I requested the motion as it is today, and I haven't gotten a first or second on that yet.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Fire Station Number 2 project, recommendation to award contract pending NC Local Government Commission approval, and this is with Ms. Darian.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so with the fire station project, I went through everything on the front end during my report so we could potentially quickly go through through this section and approve the contract with the low bidder, which has been reviewed and determined responsive and responsible as a bidder, who is WB Brawley Corporation, in the amount of $6,102,689, pending North Carolina Local Government Commission approval. So Attorney Eads has a copy of the contract for review. Do you have any comments
Well,
on
it's
the contract?
rather lengthy. I'd just like to add, if you would put, I would request that your requested motion include subject to final town attorney review. Because the LGC may want to see something changed too, but.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion to award a contract to the apparent low bidder, WB Brawley Corporation, the amount of $6,102,689, pending the North Carolina Local Government Commission approval and also the town attorney's review.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item is a resolution thanking and honoring Alderman Fred Fontana for stepping up into a board position that was vacant and assisting us through his time of being on the board. So Fred, I'm going to read it to you. You ready? You're going to cry, you said.
I'll try not to.
Okay. Resolution 2023-09, honoring the public service of Alderman Fontana. Whereas Fred Fontana was appointed to the Board of Aldermen on November 2nd, 2022, after selfishly stepping in to fill in for an unexpected vacancy. And whereas Alderman Fontana has served faithfully, diligently, and with great care for the citizens of North Topsail Beach, and whereas Alderman Fontana demonstrated substantial concern for improving the quality of life for the residents during his service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of North Topsail Beach Board of Aldermen do hereby recognize, commend, and express gratitude for Alderman Fontana for his outstanding service to the town and its citizens. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you.
We also want to thank you for your planning board. For those of you listening and also in the audience, Alderman Fontana had to make a decision before he took this position to step down from the planning board, who he spent a significant amount of time there as well. So thank you for your service there too.
I just want to thank the board. It's been a pleasure serving the town, serving the board. And I also wish Laura the best of luck and congratulations.
No motion. So why don't we're going to transition into new business.
It's a resolution, right?
It's a resolution.
Yeah, we do need a motion
We do need a motion?
to pass that. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. To make it a formal act of the
So
town.
moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Did you get that, Nancy?
He abstained.
He abstained. Okay.
You gonna give us a 5-minute break?
That's what I was just about to say. So we're going to take a 5-minute break as we transition to new business. I'm going to call the meeting back to order, and we're starting with the first agenda, which is the oath of office for the newly elected or re-elected officials. So I'm going to start.
Yes, Joanne McDermott. Would you please place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, state your name,
Joanne McDermott.
and repeat after me. I do solemnly and sincerely swear
I do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina,
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution and laws of said state,
the Constitution and laws of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
as mayor of the town of North Topsail Beach, so help me God.
the town of North Topsail Beach, so help me God.
Congratulations. Please take your seat. Connie Plettle, will you please come to the podium? Please place your left hand on the Bible. I'm sorry, can you see, is it, okay, and raise your right hand. State your name Connie Plettle. And repeat after me. I do solemnly and sincerely swear
I do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina,
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution and laws of said state,
the Constitution and laws of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
as Alderman for the town of North Topsail Beach, so help me God.
as Alderman for the town of North Topsail Beach, so help me God.
Thank you. Congratulations. Would you take your seat as a podium? Thank you. Tom Leonard. Tom Leonard. Please place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, state your name.
Tom Leonard.
Repeat after me. I do solemnly and sincerely swear
I do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
support the Constitution and laws of the United States.
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina,
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authority
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution and laws of said state,
the Constitution and laws of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
as Alderman for the town of North Topsail Beach, so help me God.
as Alderman for the town of North Topsail Beach, so help me God.
Congratulations. Laura Olszewski. Shefsky, thank you. Shefsky. My apologies. Would you place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and state your name?
Laura Olszewski.
Repeat after me. I do solemnly and sincerely swear
I do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution and laws of said state,
where do we start?
the Constitution,
There we go.
no, the Constitution and laws of said state,
All right. The Constitution and laws of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
as Alderman for the town of North Topsail Beach, so help me God.
as
Alderman,
Alderman for North Topsail Beach, so help me God.
it's a long one. Congratulations. And then Laura, we're going to welcome you to come sit up here.
By your name tag.
Sorry that it's next to Rick, but.
It's okay. She's got to find her way home with a flat tire.
Thank you. I feel like I moved over. Okay, we are gonna keep this moving so that we can get out of here at some period of time today. The next item on the agenda would be the election of the mayor pro tem, which we do with every election cycle. And I'm going to ask for nominations for mayor pro tem, and I see Alderman Leonard's hand up.
I'd like to renominate Mike Benson to be the mayor pro tem.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
You don't even need a new name tag yet. You're still good.
Now, in the Marine Corps, if you have a ribbon and you get a second award, you get a star on it. So do we put like a little star on his name tag? Second award.
He would have like 3. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is go on through the liaison appointments. And I do very much appreciate the chart that was handed to everybody so we can try and have this discussion. I do also want to recommend that we don't have the same board member on more than 3 or 4 of the liaison or boards and committees, just because if you hit the lottery, then we don't have any coverage there. And then what I would also recommend we consider for some of these, if not all, would be a primary member along with a backup member. So I'm just gonna start going through the list. And it's, again, you have a chart here too that you can go through. So right now for, the first one would be the Beach Inlet Sound Advisory Committee, which is, we've been referring to as BISAC.
Mayor, before we proceed with that, let me make a comment. There are 2 aldermen that serve on that committee and 5 citizens representing the different phases. And as voting members of the committee, the aldermen actually have terms. And so and what we did when we initiated the committee last year was we drew straws, and Alderman Grant drew the short straw. So his term.
I won. Go ahead.
No, his term will not end until February of 2024. Okay.
No,
and then,
that's you at 24, isn't it?
and I'm 2025.
Oh, okay, all right.
So there will be 2 other committee members whose terms will also end, so those positions will be up for either reappointment or appointment of new members. So I think we should delay the BISAC
Okay.
nominations until the February meeting of the Board of Aldermen.
And can I just add one thing, Mayor? I liked your comment about being on multiple things and stuff like that. Is your idea to kind of go, before we start saying, Rick is gonna be on this or whatever, you go through, because, you know, we could end up being, oh, I've already been on, I'm not 3 and now I'm not considered for the other one. Are you gonna go through and just kind of say, in other words, are we gonna go through the list and who's interested in it and then come back and decide who's on it?
That was my thought.
Okay, perfect.
And then if there's only, 2 people that have interest,
Right.
then it's easy to keep moving forward.
That's
If there's
what
more
drives
than 2, then we can have discussion. So I believe everybody is okay
Yep.
holding the BISAC until the February board meeting.
Okay.
Okay. The CIP committee right now is the Capital Improvements
Right.
Committee, and that is currently Alderman Grant, and it was Mr. Fontana. That's a critical committee as far as trying to help staff plan for our long-term goals, and that's how the fire station came about, and that's how the beach fund has been growing. So, Alderman Grant, is that something that you want to stay involved in?
I mean, I'm open, but I'd like to see if other people want to,
Okay.
would be involved, and I'm more than happy to stay on it, but we
Okay.
obviously need more people on it, so.
Okay. Anybody else from the board interested in that committee? Connie's maybe? Okay.
This is called default.
I also wouldn't mind being in that one too, so we'll put, all of us are open and we'll see where we end up.
You might want to make a comment, Mayor, just for clarification purposes, is that on some of these things, if we create a quorum with 3 members, one of the reasons you can't have 3 people on it.
Right, it'd be a quorum.
But I'm not sure, is that true if it's an open meeting? It's not, right? For example, I'm making this up, if BISAC is a public meeting that's open to the public, if we were to have 3 aldermen there, does that still constitute a quorum?
There's I don't think there's any case law on that. There is a School of Government blog that talks about the concept of having a quorum outside of the context of a formally called meeting. And if you start transacting business, or particularly if you start discussing amongst yourself, I think you would run into open meeting problems. In a smaller locale like this, it's almost impossible not to have a quorum number-wise from time to time. And I don't think the law should discourage people from attending boards and committees.
That's my question.
Sure,
So
right.
if I'm not on the BISAC board, and Mike and I are there, and Laura says, I would like to show up, that doesn't constitute a committee or a quorum if she's sitting in the audience.
I would refrain from any debate amongst yourselves.
That's fine.
It's somewhat of an open question.
The similarity is when we go to something like Beach Inlet Waterway Association Conference.
Good point.
All right, we're all sitting around a table, and we've just got to be mindful of what we speak of.
Exactly.
Okay.
Simple enough.
Sorry, Mayor.
That's okay. The next one is the parking committee. We currently have Alderman Leonard and Alderman Plettle. And that one seems to be on pretty smooth course right
Yeah,
now.
I would like to remain on that.
That's what I.
Is there anybody else interested you would like consideration on that one? Okay. Oh, shoot, I wrote you down the wrong one. The next one is Parks and Rec, and that is currently myself and Alderman Plettle, and I definitely would like to stay on that.
I would as well.
Is there anybody else who's interested?
I know you all want to be on it, but I'm sorry, not everyone can be there.
Brian even wants to come, I mean, yeah.
The revetment committee, we have myself and Alderman Leonard, and I can tell you I do want to stay on that one.
As do I.
I was also interested in that.
Okay. We've already selected our mayor pro tem. There are typically a few folks who come up and sign checks for Caitlin, and it was Alderman Fontana, Alderman Grant, and Alderman Leonard. So we need to replace Alderman Fontana and see if Alderman Grant and Alderman Leonard want to remain being signing checks?
I want to remain.
You do?
I mean, I'm happy to unless somebody else wants to do it.
Do we need 3, or is 2 sufficient? Caitlin, do we need 3?
3 seems to have worked.
3 just helps because it doesn't just have the 2 people signing.
Okay.
I'll volunteer.
Mr.
Well,
Coates?
one thing before we move on from that is that it's a great way to know what's going on. And Laura, you might want to think about it as third person. We're putting ourselves in a rotation of.
Sure, that's fine.
It's
You're
really,
excited about
it's
it.
a real eye
It takes
opener.
5 minutes, Laura.
You know, it's a real eye opener. You get to see how much the Onwassa, or not the Onwassa, but the Jones-Onslow bill is.
Whoa.
Almost got me, the Jones-Onslow bill. You know, I mean, and you see how much we pay for our electricity and just stuff like that in town and where the money goes. And then when somebody hits you up on a social media post about where does all the money go, you have at least a framework from which you can say, you know, you can answer. So just a
And then-
suggestion.
I'll withdraw.
Okay. And as we move into these outside agencies, this is where you'll see we have a primary and an alternate. So the Chamber of Commerce, Fred was the primary and I was the alternate. I do not desire to be the primary. Does anybody want to be involved with the Chamber of Commerce? It would be attending, I think their monthly meeting is what they are right now, and they're typically telephone calls. Okay, I guess it's me.
Laura?
We can come back to, I mean, I'll do it if I need to do it. My issue is that there's just not typically that much as it relates to North Topsail.
And I will add too, I meet monthly with the chamber along with the other town managers in the area, so there is communication back and forth.
Okay.
So not a lot of pressure.
No pressure on that one.
On you.
I have been on that committee before. It's not a bad committee to be on, and sometimes you can do it remotely if you would like to. The nice part about it is that you are meeting with the representatives from the other towns and from other businesses and stuff around, and it is a good networking way to network and to kind of sometimes get the scoop of what's going on in other areas. That's all I have to say. I don't want to be on it, but well, I've already put my name in for like 4, so.
Okay, then we've got the Byways Board of Directors is currently Tom Leonard.
And I'm elected to that by the board of directors.
You're elected
so,
to that. And when
yeah.
does your term end there, Tom?
I
Do
don't
you know?
even know. I think it's a couple more years.
Okay.
In fact, I think it, yeah.
And then there's the Onwassa Board of Directors, and Alderman Grant is serving on that, and I am his alternate there. I personally think that if Rick would like to stay, I'd like to see him stay there with the transition to Plurus. He's got a lot of background in utility companies, so.
That's fine. And also, just as a heads up, I thought that one of the commissioners was a good friend of mine until he asked me if I was willing to be secretary treasurer if I stuck it out. So that was a nice reward, apparently. He happens to be here today, but.
And the next one we've got is the Onslow County Board of Commissioners. We've got Alderman Grant and Alderman Plettle. Are you interested in that one, Laura?
Yes.
Connie, are you still interested in going? I know Rick goes, like, he goes out to lunch
It's
or
twice-
dinner
it's
or
twice a
breakfast
month.
or something too.
If Laura's interested?
All right, well, you and I can do it.
Okay.
It's twice a month we go to their meetings.
Okay, we're moving right along. The Jacksonville Urban Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, the Jumbo Technical Advisory Committee, that was Alderman Fontana and Alderman Plettle. Is this the DOT stuff, Connie?
Yes, that's for all of.
Okay, you wanted to be in that one, Laura? Connie, did you still want
I
to?
can be the alternate still.
that okay?
And Laura can take the lead.
All right. Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission is Mayor Pro Tem Benson and Alderman Fontana. So Mike, do we need a second person in that one?
I would like to continue, and we do.
Okay, so is there any interest from the board?
I would like to do
You're
that.
interested.
And between byways and then stuff I'm doing in Washington, I think it all fits.
And
Okay.
we also need to appoint Chairman Larry Struther to the Shoreline Protection Commission because he is our third representative from the town to the commission.
But I don't think we do that here.
I don't know what we're gonna do if we don't do it here.
I think you're just doing it by acclamation, we'll do it at a meeting.
Yeah, can we just do it in the January meeting? Because this is really just for the board members to be
Okay,
assigned.
okay.
Camp Lejeune,
I'd like to do that. I'm kidding.
That's a joke.
I'm not.
Mayor Pro Tem, did
Was
you
it
want
you?
to stay on that? I know Tom tries to go to just about every single one of them,
Right,
but,
I'd rather not stay on that.
okay, is there anybody else that would be willing to join Alderman Leonard with Camp Lejeune?
How many meetings is it?
They send out special invitations for events. It's not necessarily just meetings, but
It's
events.
2 or 3 times a year.
And usually what we'll do is see if at least one of us could go, so.
Yeah, everybody gets an invite, and sometimes we all go, and sometimes none of us go, depending on what else we got going on.
North Carolina Coastal Resource Commission, that's been Mayor Pro Tem Benson. Are you interested in staying on that?
I really don't know that we need to designate a liaison for that. Mayor Steve Smith goes to the meeting representing Shoreline Protection Commission. Mayor Teresa Batts was appointed by Governor Cooper to the CRC Commission. So we're getting good feedback through the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission so I'll report back to the board, but we don't necessarily need a representative to go to the meetings unless somebody wants to start going to the meetings.
I mean, if somebody'd be willing to do it, I still think it would be good when you got, people like that. I go back to, I just think we need to look out for ourselves, and I think that if there's other people representing those, so if there's somebody that's willing to do that,
Again, they meet quarterly, I believe,
Yep, the meetings are over here.
so
it's up to you.
I'm not able to do it.
Okay, I understand, that's fine. So let's think about that one. I'm gonna come back to that one because I'm on the fence whether we should have somebody there from North Topsail too. If we've got Steve and Teresa, I don't know if any of these are Zoom meetings or if they're all in person.
They're in person.
They're in person,
Okay,
They are gonna have a virtual meeting.
and they're generally a 2 to 3 day event, depending on their variant schedule and things like that.
Right. The advisory committee meets the first day, and then the commission meets either 1 or 2
Yeah.
days, so it can be a 3-day thing.
And the agenda spells it out, so it's not like you have to
Is that
go.
open to the public too?
Yeah.
okay.
So we've got the mayors of the 2 other towns on the island going to this.
That's my point.
Okay.
That's why I was
I'm
just-
trying to draw a picture without drawing a picture there. We need somebody to go.
I've already drawn the picture. I was just trying to figure out if they're all in person, if you have to be there the whole 2 or 3 days, or if any of it's virtual. I just don't know enough about how the meetings run, but it's definitely something I don't mind doing. So I'll put my name in there, and I'll talk to Teresa and Steve.
Joanne, you could have me as an alternate.
That's what I was
Thank
gonna
you,
say, I put it all in there,
Connie. Okay. And then the next is the Army Corps of Engineers Shallow Draft Inlet. It's been attending these really fun meetings, myself and Mayor Pro Tem Benson, along with Alice, who pretty much just tries to draw some type of schedule out of the Army Corps of Engineers. I would like to continue in that. Would you as well?
I would too.
Is there anybody else that really wants to be on those calls? Good. And then the state and federal, it is myself and Alderman Leonard. Is there any other interest in that?
I don't have an interest in it, but she has an interest in it. My point, though, is I think, and it goes back to how things look. I think there needs to be a primary. I think, and my feeling is it needs to be the mayor, and then whatever backup that you need, and those type of things. But if it's to Tom's earlier comment about you've got 2 mayors showing up for these conferences and stuff. I understand that we're a town manager-run organization, but I think the cachet associated with that. So anyway, that's just my feeling.
I want to keep doing it. It's all the work that we've done with Murphy's office and that kind of stuff with Cobra. I want to keep doing it.
Yeah, I'll be on that one.
Now, is there,
But
there's more than just Cobra, though, that happens?
Right.
in
Well,
this,
there's
too.
the state level stuff too. And you know, we don't have that much right now with the state going on.
I think we should have more
But,
with state
yeah.
DOT, so I'd like to be involved.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if maybe an option
Split
is
'em.
to split it and have
I like that.
myself be the
Sounds good.
primary, Alderman Leonard
Sad.
be the primary, or the alternate for federal, and have Laura be the alternate for state.
Yeah, and I don't want to be part of that, but Laura, I wouldn't mind on the state stuff. One of my stated goals is we need to get some stuff with our name on it at the state level, so.
Okay, so I'm just going to go back and make sure I've got the final list here and talk about which ones we need to still select or
Bear down.
bear down. So BISAC is fine because that's February. We've got, on the CIP committee, we've got Alderman Grant and Alderman Plettle. On the parking committee, we have 3 folks who volunteered. We've got Alderman Leonard, Alderman Plettle, and our new board member, Laura. So do we really need all 3 there?
Can I just
I don't
ask a
think we do.
question of Nancy
Yeah.
real quick? Is it possible if, I don't remember how many we've got, like, Connie made the point before, let's not have somebody on 5 and somebody on 2.
Right.
I don't know what that tab looks like. If you're asking
I
me
don't know
for
what
my
it looks like
opinion,
right
it's
now.
like, if Laura was only on 1 and she wanted this one, then I'm probably more inclined to say then she ought to get it. But if Laura's on 6 and she wants this one, then I'm probably not.
Well,
So
we've
I
got
don't remember
her
what the tab
on
is.
the
No,
Board of Commissioners.
I was using her as an example. I just
I know,
don't know
just
I don't know what the town
Right.
is right now.
I'd
You know-
like to know the tally.
Jumbo, Board of Commissioners, Jumbo, Camp Lejeune, and State. So that's
Is that Laura?
That's 4, right?
4.
4, okay.
Did I have the parking committee?
No, so that's 5.
That didn't include the
that'd be
parking
plus 1.
committee. So since those are as needed, Laura, do you want to not do the parking committee? Because they have to bring the updates back to the Board of Aldermen.
They don't do anything. Laura.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, it's running now. It was originally the town manager when it was Dave Gilbride and Rick and myself, when we sat down and went through and actually, you know, worked with the contractor and everything. And right now, it is on autopilot. So from a perspective of, you know, everybody, you know, try to keep it equal across the board with numbers. Some of these require a heck of a lot more work than others, and so I think there needs to be a balance struck with that too. Primarily, I want to stay on it because, like Rick, I was there from the beginning, and understand a little bit about how the whole thing got started and the contract, and worked with the contractor, and now it doesn't take a lot of time. That's not to say, you know, I know I got a call from somebody about all the contractors and construction guys parking not all the way off the road.
That was me.
Yeah, and it was a guy sitting at this table, but I didn't want to mention him. But, you know, there are going to be some things that come up like that. But overall, the contract for paid parking is pretty much solidified.
And we typically meet 2 times a year, pre-season and post-season, to discuss any type of issues with the vendor, walk through, you know, how the year progressed, the financials, and then whatever amendments that we want to propose to the original contract.
But I would also say
Those-
that
That's the
Tom's
typical
on 6.
agenda of the
You're on
parking
s-
committee.
You've got your
meetings.
name next to
Can we do
6
the
of them
tally?
right now.
Let's do the
Okay.
tally first, okay? 'Cause
Yeah.
You know, it's like I've got, I don't even know, so I've got Laura's 4 plus 1, right?
5.
And Tom
I'm
right
saying
now,
we're
Tom
talking
right
about
now
it, so
with
it's
this
5.
one would be
Right.
6.
All right. No, is it 5 plus 1?
No, 5. 4 plus 1.
Yeah, so I thought it's 4 plus 1. So a total of 5 right now.
The 4 plus 1 is 5.
It's not
Right,
bad.
but Tom, you have
We
6, what I'm saying is you have
We started
6.
talking about the parking committee. So
I'm just trying to add a little
4.
levity here, Rick.
Right, no, but my point though is,
All right.
I thought there was consensus on the 4 already, right? Right, that's all I was saying. And so, okay, so how many am I? I've got on WASA, I've got BISAC, which we haven't talked about, and the CIP. So I'm 2,
It's 3.
right?
3.
Well, BISAC we haven't discussed, but yes.
That's 4.
I'll make it 7.
BISAC, capital, what's the other one?
Oh, I have never checked.
Board of Commissioners,
Well, check is
Yeah, I
not
wasn't
a-
really counting the
check doesn't
check
like
signing.
The county board.
County.
In the county. County on Wausau, FISAC,
You're on
and
CIP.
capital. And capital, okay,
Capital.
that's four, so that's four. All right, Tom,
I have Tom, parking, TISPC, Lejeune and state.
and then federal,
And byways,
and byways. Right, but not state, he's federal.
Right.
Laura's state.
right.
So how many is that? Okay, so I was five.
So he's federal or?
He's federal and Laura's state, yeah.
not state?
Yeah. No, he's federal and she's state. Right? I didn't get confused on that one. Right,
So,
Mike?
we only need two, so somebody's gonna have to back out of the parking committee, or we'll have to make a decision.
Issues have been brought to me from citizens regarding the parking, and I would like to represent those, so I'd like to stay on parking.
Okay?
I would like to stay on parking as well.
But then you guys are willing to give up something else then? Is that what?
Well, I only have, I
Connie's
have,
not on that many.
the CIP, parking, Parks and Rec, and revetment. I have four, I have a
Can-
couple alternates.
Can we
so I
just
don't
take a
know.
pause and then have Nancy do a total of
Just
the
do it
numbers
that way.
and we'll
That's
go
the
from
best
there?
way. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I don't think I can count that fast. All I have so far, I currently have CIP,
It's fine.
Parks and Rec, revetment.
So, go ahead.
Sorry, Alderman Plattle, CIP, Parks and Rec, revetment, Jumpo as alternate, and CRC. I have parking. And parking. Yeah, and then the other ones I'm, alternate. 6.
So that's 6.
Which I do have to say I was alternate last year too, and never had to go to any.
Okay, go
Which
ahead.
is
So
fine.
Connie, Mike, shoreline protection.
Is BISAC,
Really only two.
the EIS.
Counting DIS.
But the ones that you've selected take a good bit of your time.
Right. It's
Oh,
three
yeah.
for Mike.
TISPC,
Go ahead, Dan.
and Mayor Pro Tem. I don't have,
That doesn't count.
I don't think I have anything else for Alderman Benson other than the two.
TISPC and then also, BISAC.
BISAC, right.
And then Mayor.
I just have Parks and Rec, I believe, as well as,
And then
backup
legislative, yeah.
for board
Legislative.
and
Mike
legislative.
has 3.
What do you have? Army Corps?
Mike has the Army Corps of Engineers,
Yep,
BISAC, and TISPC,
Yep.
plus check.
check
But
signing.
check sign's not
Yeah. I backed out check sign.
Oh, Laura's gonna do
Laura's
check
gonna do
signing.
sign. So parking, we're gonna decide the old-fashioned ways of arm wrestling?
Well, parking seems to really be the only one that we have,
Can we continue to go through the other
yes,
names?
because I think that's the only, sorry.
Parking and revetment.
Oh, parking and revetment.
You wanna go with Tom next?
Oh, Tom, I have, I'm sorry, Alderman Leonard, I have parking, TISPC, Camp Lejeune, federal, and byways.
That's 5. Okay.
Should we go through the ones that we know we only have 2?
Well, that's what I was saying. I think there's only 2 that we're gonna need to have discussion about
Discussion.
bringing them back. So I think we'll need to come back to the parking committee. Parks and Rec, it's actually the primary, I think, should be Alderman Plettle. Again, I think you're ready to, because we're both on there, but you were serving as the primary, but I'm on there with you. The revetment committee is the other one I think we need to come back to. That Board of Aldermen is Mike. The check signatories, am I going too fast, Nancy? You're good. The check signatories, we've got Grant, Leonard, and Laura. Greater Topsail Chamber of Commerce, we've got me. Byways, Tom is elected by that board of officials, so we don't have to do that one. On WASA, we've got Alderman Grant, and I'm his alternate. The Board of Commissioners, we've got Alderman Grant and Laura as his alternate.
It just means we both go.
Jumbo, Laura and Connie. Laura would be primary and Connie's alternate. The Topsail Island Shoreline Protection, Mayor Pro Tem Benson and Alderman Leonard had said that one. Camp Lejeune, we've got Alderman Leonard and Laura. The NC Resource Commission, I've taken that one, and Connie said that she would be my alternate. The Army Corps of Engineers, telephone calls and just follow up on that, is myself and Mayor Pro Tem Benson. And then for state and federal, I'm the primary, and Laura is the backup for state, and Tom is the backup for federal. Did I miss? So the two that we have to come back to are the parking committee and the revetment committee. So on the parking committee right now, again, we've got 3 volunteers, Alderman Leonard, Alderman Plettle, and I have a hard time still with your name, so Alderman Laura.
Laura,
I'll get it. And then on the revetment committee, I'm on there, Alderman Leonard and Alderman Plettle. So those are the 2 we have to talk about. And I will definitely say I have extreme interest in that revetment committee. I'm not going to voluntarily come off of that. And I also think it's better to have a board member or representative on there that does not specifically live in that phase where the sandbags are.
Because there will be 3 aldermen on that meeting, then we're going to have to start, I think, noticing that.
No,
as a
I'm
public
saying we
meeting.
should bring it back to 2. Back to 2.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna dial it back. It's just who wants to say no. I disagree. I disagree, Joanne, with your assessment of that. I think that, first of all, I was on the board when we actually passed the resolution and constructed
So
that.
was I.
And, watched the whole thing go up from practically my front door. Have lived through the whole thing, watched the whole business, and you have too. I think that having people who are living up there and see the water coming across through underneath the houses and onto the road day in and day out is actually kind of puts it right in your face, and it gives you a perspective of it that maybe someone living elsewhere doesn't. I would like to stay on it. I know Connie wants on it for roughly the same reasons, and I'm sure she'll speak to it herself, but that's my perspective with it. I think we're better off with people up there, living up there who are on it.
I would like to be on it. It's one of these committees that I really feel like I could perhaps help move it along. I know it's been a rough road, and I think everybody has done a really good job trying to get it to move forward. I know that both of you have been in it in the past, but I do think we need some new blood that we've talked about in other areas. I don't have a preference if somebody else lives there or somebody lives someplace else in the town. I mean, it's a very small town. So I would really like to be in it. I have institutional knowledge, just not from the town's point of view, but also as an outsider looking in from when I was a reporter for the local newspapers, getting that side of view. That's what I have to say.
so why did we decide we couldn't have 3?
Quorum.
Well, yeah, could be a public meeting.
They always are.
They are noticed.
Well, it would have to be noticed.
They are noticed.
Yeah, but they always are, and maybe that's a solution here, okay? I
We
don't
would
think
have
anybody's
to-
trying to squeeze anybody out of anything, but I think we all have valid reasons for desiring to be involved with this.
Well, let's let Attorney
Our lawyer's
Eads.
gonna weigh in.
I'm thinking through it through my head. If we notice it as a special meeting, then all of you could attend. If we're going to have a quorum, we need to at least advertise the meeting.
Do we do that today?
Nope, we don't.
It's been a long time since we've had one.
To add to that, though, we don't have these
The last one we
monthly,
did.
I mean, the last one's
You
a
know,
year ago.
but see, the problem with that, I don't recommend having a quorum of elected officials because that's, they come back to the elected body for certain decisions. And that's, if a quorum already votes to do something, then one could argue that there's no need for it to have to go to the entire elected body because the elected body speaks through a majority of its members.
Are we required to have, I mean,
Yes,
what you just
we are
described
required.
before is, no, but you could have something where the revetment comes before this as a full committee. I don't know. I mean, the problem is if it's got to be a public hearing,
It was,
it would have to come back to this board for a decision anyway.
Well, I mean, you say that, but would it? Because if 3 people vote
I'm saying without that.
at a properly noticed public meeting,
the revetment committee was born out of the words in the settlement.
correct.
Settlement agreement said there will be a committee consisting of this many and a like number, this many from the plaintiffs and a like number from the town. So we absolutely have to have it.
Well, and here's another thing. Each side, the plaintiffs and the town, has 4 members, okay? And the town manager has been one of those 4.
Right.
And the 4th member, who was a citizen, resigned last month from that committee. So
Right.
there are, you know, we're going to have to appoint a citizen to that committee to have our total of 4 if we don't have 3 aldermen on it. And my point is, with the settlement agreement, the revetment committee is going to recommend to the board how and when to spend that money.
That's
All
a
right?
good point.
The board is going to have to decide
That's
as
my
a
point.
board to spend that money. The recommendation to spend that money for the restoration work is going to come from the revetment committee, which is going to be a joint agreement between the plaintiffs and the town members of the revetment committee. Wouldn't that be the case?
Yes. And that's the problem. If there's a quorum on the committee that votes in favor of doing something, one could argue that
You've already made a decision.
it's done. Yeah.
Well, I would call it question. You got 3 people that want it. Why don't we just vote as a board?
Is it an advisory committee, though, so the only decision is to what to bring to the aldermen?
If there's,
Yes.
I think
In
what we're
theory,
saying
you
is,
still
if
have
there's
quorum.
2.
In
if
theory,
there's
but that
2
Still a
doesn't,
quorum.
that doesn't trump the open meeting laws with respect to elected bodies meeting in a quorum.
Okay, so,
It's just a headache we can avoid.
Mr. Attorney, I'm pretty sure it's outlined in the agreement. We're looking right now that it's 2 aldermen.
Too.
with 1 citizen and the town manager, correct? Yeah.
Just call if you want to do it. Let's just vote. We got 3 people that want it. You got 2 seats.
Okay, we can go around.
Well, are we going to do written ballot or aye, nay votes? Because that matters if there's, I guess there won't be a tie.
I don't think it could be a tie.
Yeah, okay.
But do I get to vote?
No.
Not unless there's a tie and an aye, nay vote.
Okay.
All right, so just have us write down 2
Yeah,
names
let's
on a piece
just-
of paper?
Yes, let's just, have it write down 2 names on a piece of paper and we'll submit it to the clerk and we'll see what it is.
And could you sign those, please? And I'll take them up.
Can these get thrown out? There's misspelling. Oh, I'm sorry, Laura's not on this one. First time she sent me a text, she gave me the finesse of her name.
I'm gonna get it.
At least I did that with my.
Oh, like like I said last time, I didn't go to one meeting.
Madam Clerk, could you reveal the results?
Do you want the numbers or just the two?
The names and the numbers.
Alderman Plettle and Mayor McDermott.
Okay, and then I think we're probably gonna have to do the same for the parking committee unless anybody opposes that. Okay. So we'll do the same for the parking committee. If everybody could write down two names.
Who's
and then
currently on it, please?
Currently on it is Alderman Leonard and Alderman Plettle, and Alderman Olszewski would like to join.
You could,
Well, between your last name and my last name, we're gonna screw everybody up.
I thought you were named after a flower.
Flower Plettle.
Flower.
I should have named one of my daughter's middle names Rose or something like that.
Rose Plettle.
Breaking the rules again, you already handed it over.
This is how the county does it. It was kind of interesting. Isn't that right, Royce?
The county does it this way.
But they have pre-printed ballots.
We would need some additional budget funds for those pre-printed ballots, Royce.
Hey, what Royce has heard is how much more money we need. Appreciate it. Appreciate you showing up. Now, they've been good though.
So you got
Tommy.
two. You got two.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, the results of the parking committee.
Dun, 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 dun. Parking committee members are Alderman Plettle and Alderman Leonard.
Okay. Now, on that, though, because Laura did have some concerns about feedback she's gotten, so Laura, you could definitely give that feedback to your fellow aldermen, and they can bring that to the meetings.
And also bring it up here.
And also to town manager as well. It doesn't have to wait for a parking committee meeting if there's a citizen issue or something happening.
So we have everything filled in now?
We do. Nancy, do you have any questions?
So we all know? Can we take it from the top? Who's got
Yes.
what?
All right, you ready?
I think he's gonna do that.
The BISAC is Mayor Pro Tem Benson and Alderman Grant until February. The CIP committee is Alderman Grant and Alderman Plettle. The parking committee, is Alderman Plettle and Alderman Leonard. Parks and Rec is Mayor McDermott and Alderman Plettle. Revetment committee is Mayor McDermott, is that right, and Connie?
Yes.
Right, Plettle, okay. Board of Aldermen, Mayor Pro Tem is Alderman Benson. The check signatures are Alderman Grant, Alderman Leonard, and Alderman Olszewski. I'm getting it. Outside liaisons, the Topsail Area Chamber of Commerce will be myself, Mayor McDermott. The Byways Board of Directors is elected official Alderman Leonard. WASA Board of Directors is Alderman Grant with myself as an alternate. Onzo County Board of Commissioners is Alderman Grant with Alderman Olszewski as an alternate. JUMPO, which is the DOT, is going to be Alderman Olszewski and Alderman Plettle as an alternate. Topsail Island Shoreline Commission is Mayor Pro Tem Benson and Alderman Leonard. Camp Lejeune is Alderman Leonard and Laura Olszewski. The CRC is myself. The Army Corps of Engineers.
With Alderman Plettle as alternate.
Oh, yes, yeah, as an alternate, yeah, I got that written down. Army Corps of Engineers is Mayor McDermott and Mayor Pro Tem Benson. Under state and federal, we've got myself as the primary and Laura Olszewski as state and Alderman Leonard as federal. Okay. So that brings us all the way down to item E on our agenda, which is the regularly scheduled meetings. Right now, they are the first Wednesday of every month at 11 a.m. And I'd like to request a motion to adopt the 2024 Board of Aldermen regularly scheduled meeting, still remaining at the first Wednesday of every month at 11. Do
So move.
we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I think the board we should get lunch if it goes after 12 o'clock.
All,
Now you can turn your
I
mic
second
on.
that.
all in favor?
I can't.
All in favor?
Just
Just
one,
one, yeah, and Mayor, just one comment for the record. I've heard discussions about moving it to different times, and I can tell you, as Laura will soon find out, the county has 11 o'clock meetings, Royce, and 6 o'clock meetings, and the attendance really doesn't vary between those two meetings at all. And so I'm fine with the 11 o'clock. We are now streaming these and taping them, so at least that's available.
For every person that complains that they're during the workday, if you move them to the evening, there's somebody complaining that they're in the evening. You can't please everybody. The issue with having them after hours is what it does to our staff.
I agree. Okay, so we have a motion, I believe.
Yep.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in
So,
favor?
Laura, second.
I second.
You second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And just one thing on schedule, Mayor, we're not setting the planning board and those meetings
No, this is just the
schedules.
Board of Aldermen.
Right, because I think we need to have a discussion about timing on those things.
This is just the Board of Aldermen. The next item on the agenda is the election polling locations, and Alderman Plettle wanted to talk about that.
Yes, at the last election, we had quite a few residents unhappy that they had to come all the way out to the church out there on Old Folkestone. So I drafted a letter, and this is just a draft, just to get the ball rolling, to the Onslow County Elections Director, and I'm going to read it so the audience knows what it says. I wrote, I am writing on behalf of the town of North Topsail Beach to request a meeting with you to discuss a change in venue for North Topsail Beach voters. The current polling location for North Topsail Beach is located at Folkestone Original Free Will Baptist Church at 133 Old Folkestone Road in Sneed's Ferry, which is well outside of the town limits. The Sneed's Ferry location is tucked away at a church on a secondary road and causes an inconvenience as well as some confusion for North Topsail Beach residents. We are requesting that the polling site for municipal elections be located within town limits at the town hall, which is ADA compliant, easily accessible, centrally located, and has ample parking as well as public restrooms. As for primary elections and general elections, as you know, North Topsail Beach is part of the Folkestone precinct. The current church polling site location is at the very far edge of the precinct boundary, making it cumbersome not only for North Topsail Beach residents, but also for some Sneed's Ferry voters. The limited amount of parking space, as well as entering and exiting the parking lot at the church, can be an issue for voters. We suggest changing the site from the church to the library. The Sneed's Ferry branch of the Onslow County Public Library, which has been used in the past as an early voting site, would be much more centrally located for the Folkestone precinct voters, including those who live in North Topsail Beach. Additional reasons to change from the church to the library include the ease of parking, it's located on a main road, has a covered walkway, automatic ADA push-button doors, and the amount of handicapped parking spaces make the library more friendly to those with impaired mobility, and the library has public bathroom facilities, which the church does not. Thank you very much for considering this request. I look forward to hearing from you.
Just one quick question. What about the Surf City people you didn't mention the Surf City people that voted there? Remember with us, the ones that are in Onslow County? Because remember, we had that confusion at the voting site too. Do you have any idea how we would handle that? Because it has to be in Onslow County, and the Surf City stuff is in Pender.
Well, I would suggest that they vote, that the Surf City residents who are in Onslow County would vote at maybe the Holly Ridge precinct, because they already share a post office. It's more convenient for them over on that side. I mean, I don't know. When I think of the pros and cons and what they could say to maybe dispute this.
I was thinking if you're going to use the library, that's all I was thinking.
Yeah, the library.
If you're going to have that, you can make it for both.
To keep it simple, they could vote wherever we end up voting. You know?
I just said they're not mentioned in it, so
No,
I think
but-
that is, because, for them, they're gonna get.
So you're
They're
simply,
getting squeezed either way.
you're just simply
voted
saying,
Yeah.
change it possibly to Onslow County, Topsail Island residents
Yeah, because
instead
I
of
think
just
about
North Topsail Beach.
55 people from Surf City voted in this last election. It's not a great number because of how the town, the demographics are between, the splits between the two counties, but,
You know the
yeah.
confusion there, so.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. And then there were
Yes.
people coming up who were from Sneed's Ferry and thought they were voting, and it was only municipals.
We did have some Holly Ridge people voting there too, which I don't think it would be bad if they changed it to for the Surf City residents to vote in Holly Ridge. They already share a post office, they share many things. However, that's not our decision. What we would like to ask the County Board of Elections to do is from us. I can't speak for.
Mike
has something to say, and then I got something to follow up.
So Holly Ridge votes at the same location we vote.
A
It's my
portion of it.
Portion of them, okay. So I think that unbeknownst to Alderman Plettle, I'd been thinking about this same sort of thing, coming through the mayors of each of the three towns to develop a letter such as this, and there's many reasons that the Alderman pointed out that we need to change this, but it's going to, the 2024 is going to be a presidential election, and I think it would probably, the numbers that people are going to be involved, it would probably be best to lobby for the Sneed's Ferry Library, because they've got a bigger capacity to handle a large group than we would here at Town Hall with parking and with voter candidate supports has to be so far, you know, I think it would be just too congested in our parking lot. So I think the idea of using the Sneed's Ferry Library would probably be good, even though it's not in the town limits. So I'd like to work with you on flushing out your proposal.
Yeah, I would like that as well. That's why I separated the primary and general elections from the municipal. But yeah, I'd like to work with you about it.
And I think you're saying very similar things. You're saying the municipal have here, but any primary or general have at the library. Yeah, so I don't think you're far apart.
As you read through this, I was wondering, do we want to turn this into a resolution at some point?
That's my question. Has that already been sent?
No, that's just a draft letter that I created,
And I,
and I gave you one. Here, I can send you one by email.
no, that's fine. I thought you said, yeah, on behalf of the town, so I would prefer at least a polling for a consensus before it goes out.
Well, I'd like to see what, I'd like to have, since they're talking about it, give it some more thought, and bring it back to us in January with a specific recommendation, otherwise we'll just keep talking in a circle.
No, maybe what we do is we come back and revisit it in January, and then you send it to the Board of Elections, and then we follow it up a month or two later to the Board of Elections, or even the county commissioners.
They don't report to them.
You can get the election director here to talk to you about that issue.
Good idea.
Next meeting.
Good idea.
Maybe that's a good idea.
I think
Yeah.
one of the,
He's just
Thank you.
recently had staff changes.
Jason?
Yes.
Yeah.
and I
So-
think one of the challenges for the Board of Elections is going to be, of course, always getting enough volunteers. But I also think because the primary comes up so quickly this year, I believe it's in March. So I know the Board of Elections is just, I'm really understanding that they are so busy. But that's why I think the sooner we get the ball rolling, and I think January meeting is good.
Why
So-
don't we invite him? I'm sorry, Laura was gonna say something.
No, I just know he's recently had staff changes, and I think he's getting back to full staffing right now, but I'm sure he would be happy to discuss this with us.
Let's have him come here and then, that's a great way to do it.
Well, if we're gonna have him come here, I'd like to make sure the board is prepared and has a consensus on what is going to be discussed. So if we need until the January meeting to flush that out, I think it'd be more the February meeting for his presence.
I don't have a problem with that, but I don't think that we would have any,
Any more to offer?
I don't think that we would be able to see any changes this year then.
I don't think you're gonna see it even if he comes in
What
January,
changes
because
need to be fleshed out? What changes to this need to be fleshed out?
The primary will be at the library.
then we don't even have to worry about that part.
All right. Then February works.
Yeah, let's do that. I
Okay.
just don't, I want to just make sure that we're prepared before we ask him to spend his time. So what we said, Nancy, was for the January meeting, we'll have this as a placeholder, and Alderman Plettle and Mayor Pro Tem Benson will come back with a draft for the board.
Okay.
Okay, and so the next item we have is open forum. Is there anybody signed up for this open forum? No, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Sir, did you want to speak? Come on up to the podium and just state your name and address, please.
Bill.
Turn the mic on.
Microphone.
And just push the big button.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Thank you. I'm Bill O'Donnell. I live at 3612 Island Drive, which is just south of Rogers Bay Campground. There are 2 points that I want to make. First of all, I would like to see some of the money that was excess tax collection stay in the taxpayer's pocket. We do not need to collect 117% of the annual budget when only 34% is required. We could do better having that money in our pockets than you sitting on it. So I'd like you to think about that in planning the next year's budget. The other thing is that I'd like to see more respect for the citizens of the town and the will of the citizens of the town. The specific issue I have in mind was a zoning exception, actually where I live, where everybody in the neighborhood was against the zoning exception. The person who was not even going to live there. She wanted 2 houses put on her lot. As soon as the exception was granted, both of those house positions went on the market. It was just a money grab by the person. I don't think we should allow that when it's contrary to the will of the citizens in the neighborhood. Furthermore, I think more efforts should be made to get valid maps by Mr. Riggs. The map presented for that discussion was gross. And overemphasized the size of that lot when it was no bigger than the lots on either side of it. And that is not the only time that this has occurred. We should have even equitable lots based on the linear footage of the lots and not some grandiose idea that favors whoever's presenting something. Those are my 2 points.
Thank you, sir. It's much appreciated. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak? Okay. Then we are going to go on to the attorney's report.
I've never, no report other than congratulations on your successful campaigns for those of you who are newly elected. And Merry Christmas to the public.
Yeah. I just want to thank everybody for coming today and getting through all of the large agenda that we had. I want to welcome Laura to the board, and I want to thank Fred again for his time, and I'm hoping that we will see him on additional boards as well. And just happy holidays. Okay, we're going to start, Connie, I'm going to shake it up. I'm going to start with Rick. Okay. Alderman Grant.
Just want to say Merry Christmas. I think the water guys handled the issues I was going to bring up because we are working on the Onwassa board to make sure we do not have a shortfall of water on the 4th of July. Correct, guys? So Merry Christmas, and it's good to see you guys here.
Alderman Olszewski, do you have anything you want to say? You can just say, I'm glad to be here.
No, I had a couple of comments on part of the meeting that I could not participate in. So I'd like to see 11th Avenue looked at as an added crosswalk for the state, as well as the idea of painting and striping and signage with the state DOT. I also wanted to make sure with the Onwassa contract that we looked at, and it's been confirmed that they had liquidated damages for lack of performance as well as missed due dates, and that seems to be confirmed that that's covered in your contract. Okay. And then, let's see. I think that was it. Thank you all, and I hope to serve the citizens of North Topsail Beach, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem Benson.
Happy holidays. Glad you were able to stick out for almost 3 hours with us, and that's my report.
Alderman Leonard.
Thank you, Fred. Privilege serving with you. Welcome, Laura. Merry Christmas. Go Navy.
Alderman Plettle.
Thank you all for being so brief. I want to thank everyone who came to this meeting and those who are watching online. First of all, I want to thank Fred Fontana for his service and dedication as an alderman. Fred was a great asset to this board, most notably for his push to get a bike path on New River Inlet Road. Thanks to Fred, that initiative has moved further forward than it ever has before. I also want to welcome Laura, our newest alderman, to the board. I attended the North Carolina Beach, Inlet, and Waterways Conference in Wilmington earlier this month with Alice and other board members. These conferences provide much valuable information as well as opportunities to network with coastal experts and others. On November 18th, a boat containing 3 fishermen submerged in the inlet after its engine stopped working. The waves and the current were quite treacherous that day, and the tide was running extremely high. Fortunately for those 3 men, our fire and rescue was there almost immediately and saved them from an uncertain fate. I, and I'm sure the fishermen, are grateful that we have such skilled and dedicated personnel who can quite literally be the difference between life and death for someone who is in danger. Thank you. On November 20th, I attended the Gold Star Blue Star Memorial dedication outside the Sneads Ferry Library. The Blue Star Memorial represents those who have served in the armed forces, and the Gold Star represents families who have lost loved ones in battle. There are 129 Blue Star memorials in North Carolina and only 4 gold ones. The gold one at the Sneads Ferry Library is the only one in southeastern North Carolina, and it was the New River Garden Club that pushed to get that done and worked so hard for about 5 years with the county commissioners' help. I also attended the Joint Board of Aldermen Planning Board workshop on November 30th. It was good to have the 2 boards together as we fine-tune the roles, duties, rules of procedures, and other matters pertaining on how the planning board should operate. And as Alice mentioned, the Christmas tree lighting was a huge success. As you remember, our Halloween event was also very popular and well attended. To keep the momentum going, I've got a list of possible events and opportunities for the Parks and Rec Committee for the coming year. If you would like to be part of the committee, please fill out an online application. I wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Blessed Kwanzaa, Festivus for Tom, and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, everyone.
That concludes my remarks.
Okay, then I just need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Well, and the purpose is to consult with the town attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege.
I like to make sure. Okay, we've come back from closed session. I'd like to report that no action was taken, and I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Second?
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.